Footy's biggest rivalry enters its 53rd edition with plenty at stake as the Power and the Crows look to silence their critics by toppling their crosstown nemesis in front of a sellout crowd. Both clubs have swung the axe at selection as Adelaide seeks its first win of the season, whilst Port look to get their campaign back on track as it dons the prison bars once again. It's Showdown 53 on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us for it. Aaron Bryans calling the action, and alongside me is Neil Cross. Crossy, good evening.
Good evening, Aaron. Atmosphere on April Fool's Day. Atmosphere here at the Adelaide Oval will be such an important match for both sides. Port Adelaide's won 5 of the past 6 showdowns. And I don't know if you know or you've heard this, but apparently Port Adelaide's wearing their prison bars in this match.
There's a fair bit of feeling in it. Speaking of April Fools, there was a rumour going around today that a couple of the Crows players had COVID. It was certainly a joke. There is no late changes. Razio Fantasia is the sub for the Power, Chase Jones for the Crows. Your experts this evening. Firstly, as always, it's great to have Adelaide Premiership player Rod Jamieson back with us. Jamo, good evening.
Aaron, good evening. Crossy as well, and it's always unique coming into a showdown, isn't it, too? You look across most of the other games in the AFL and they have great respect for each other, but you don't often hear two sides come out and have great hatred and tell the opposition how much you actually hate them, which I think adds the fuel to this actual rivalry.
Ken Hinkley described it perfectly yesterday. It was all smiles and photos with Matthew Nicks, but there is a pure hatred between these two clubs. They enjoy when the other loses, and they certainly don't want to get beaten by their opposition either. Alongside Rod Jamieson this evening, 3-time Showdown medalist Josh Franco. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again, and great to be here. And likewise, Jamo, the atmosphere as you start to walk into the stadium and it starts to build, and the tension and the excitement. And it's interesting throughout, I guess, the history of the showdowns, prior week's form doesn't have a lot of bearing on the outcome of this game. And I guess to say the least, Port's form has been sketchy. Adelaide haven't won a game yet, but expecting a pretty big contest tonight.
There's an unbelievable amount of talking points heading into this one. Usually you can just say it's a showdown, it's going to be fierce, it's going to be feisty, but both clubs are desperate for a win. The Crows could be 0-3 after tonight with Fremantle and Carlton to come. Port Adelaide, meanwhile, as you touched on, Josh, a 71-point mauling by the Pies. They'll enter tonight as the favourite. They can't afford to roll over against the Crows.
No, they can't. And interestingly enough as well, looking at some of the key stats and the KPIs that all clubs look at is contested ball. And there's been a swing of 91 in 2 weeks. So they were plus 34 contested possessions against Brisbane. Last week they were minus 57. That's a cricket score. That's unheard of. Yeah. And as you said, got absolutely mauled by the Pies. And as you said, Adelaide's form coming into the game, they haven't won one. They were half-time of that GWS game. The game should have been put to bed. GWS came back and won, and last week their form, as we saw, potentially should have won as well.
Yeah, so you can pick it apart. You can pick some matchups apart too, and you can pick why both sides could actually win the game. But I think for me, the contested ball is obviously critical. A lot of teams might give that up a little bit and go for the uncontested, maintain possession, use it, and the opposition have got to get it back off. But the areas that Port Adelaide was so poor last week, Adelaide also poor, but probably in the first half had a really big third quarter, and the numbers were then obscured a little bit in that way. And it's just the efficiency. When you have a look, Adelaide have kicked 22-34 from the first 2 rounds. Port Adelaide 27-28. So both sides, when they've got it inside forward, it looks as if they can get it in there enough, but they just haven't been able to finish off. And then certainly around the ground, Adelaide is probably poorer using the football than what Port Adelaide is. But then you align, they were up against Collingwood last week, Port Adelaide, the pressure was there. Richmond have also played very fast pressured football, so it's a really hard one to actually work out which team, other than the fact that Port have won 1 and Adelaide have lost 2.
Well, interesting as well, even when you look at Port Adelaide's form last week, we saw them absolutely destroy Brisbane in that second half of the round 1 game. Last week, it almost looked like they were trying to take Collingwood on at their own game. They weren't able to match them in the pressure stakes and the contested ball stakes. Weren't able to apply pressure to Collingwood and got absolutely opened up. So I'm almost a bit of a conundrum for Ken Hinkley and the Port Adelaide coaching staff. Do they continue with that sort of fast-paced, fast-flowing footy, or do they revert back to maintaining a bit of possession, a bit more method in their build-up?
I think that's where they've got to go. And again, because I think that then reflects on the freeze, because they're just screaming in at the football, aren't they, too? So, again, that first game or first round, we spoke about just take a step back a little bit, think about your approach and how you're going to the footy. And I think they tried to do that again last week, and they've just been mauled in the freeze, and that's what's really hurt them.
That's right.
Negative 32 too, the worst in the competition, Port Adelaide at the moment. So they do need to settle a little bit, although there's going to be a lot of feeling in this contest. And in terms of the style of game that Adelaide's playing at the moment, it is high pressure at its best. It's supposed to be rebound footy off that back half, turnover in the middle. We've seen glimpses of it, and Port Adelaide, obviously, we've seen glimpses of them struggle to handle that.
They have, yeah. And I think if you're looking at the benchmark of the competition in that area, that's Collingwood. And they're actually probably my favourite team to watch at the moment, Collingwood. Everyone talks about their ball movement and their ability to take the game on through the corridor, but their real strength is their ability to maintain pressure on the opposition. And you're right, we've seen glimpses of that from Adelaide, glimpses of it from Port Adelaide. So, interesting battle tonight in that regard.
Well, I think Matthew Nicks is building that team, and that's where he wants to be. And when you speak to most of the opposition, when they come up against Adelaide, it's the relentless pressure that they apply. They just haven't been able to get the other parts of their game right. The centre clearance stuff is so important. You can see last week they just got touched up in the middle there too. I think Richmond kicked 8 or 9 goals against them. They couldn't shut it down. That's the area of concern for me tonight with Port Adelaide's midfield and the quality in there too.
Agreed.
And the biggest thing when Adelaide do win their clearance, they're number one in the competition from scoring, which is not high. It's 22 goals, but so the number isn't big enough, but that's where they get their strength from. They do want to rebound. The opposition have been able to stifle that in the past, and they're slowly building it. So it's just varying parts of the game. You'll know straight away, I think, where Adelaide will struggle, but they do come back, and they only need 5, 10, 15 minutes, and they can get a few goals on the opposition. So the margin, you wouldn't have thought a 4 or 5 goal margin is not going to be enough to shut them down, but the quality opposition we've seen, Port Adelaide, they can blow a game open pretty quickly.
The voices of two men who know all about showdowns, Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco, with us on Grandstand AFL this evening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. There is another game on over at the MCG as well, St Kilda and Essendon. If you do want to hear it, jump on the Listen app. It will be available to you on the AFL button. At the moment, St Kilda lead early stages, 1-1-7. Essendon yet to score. So the only goal so far in that game coming through Mason Wood. And we'll keep you updated across the evening. But St Kilda's 150th celebration at the MCG. As I mentioned, no late changes. Chase Jones, the sub for the Crows. Orazio Fantasia for the Power. 4 changes overall for both sides. So Finlayson, Boak, Bonner and Cleary in for the Power. Burgoyne, Georgiadis, Burton and obviously Fantasia omitted to the sub. For the Crows, Chase Jones now one of the subs. Butts, Gallant, Miller and Thilthorpe in. Fogarty out injured. Himmelberg, Schomburg omitted and Parnell out injured as well. The Fogarty injury is a concerning one. We'll touch on it in a moment, but the toss has just occurred downstairs. So let's check in with the 5th member of our commentary team, Jack Burketta.
Thank you, Aaron. Tommy Jonas has won the toss for Port Adelaide. They'll be kicking towards the city end. If anything, there is a very slight breeze blowing towards the scoreboard end, but it's not really much to speak of, so it shouldn't have too much of an impact tonight. It is a perfect night for football down here. A little fresh, but I'm excited to see what happens. You guys have touched on it. The atmosphere down here is absolutely amazing. You look over at the hill, and they have packed them in there. They unfurled a giant prison bars flag as the teams were running out, and that grew huge cheers from the Port Adelaide crowd. If we look around, there is a surprising number of prison bar Guernseys here, which did surprise me considering they were meant to be so tough to get. But that's the Port Adelaide fans ring out, never tear us apart.
Sellout crowd at the Adelaide Oval. Great to see punters back at the footy after a couple of 30,000 crowds to start the campaign. Lockie Gallant is the replacement for Darcy Fogarty. Very excited to see him out there because the last time he played a showdown, he kicked 4. He's coming into this game off 6 as well. So I think it's a decent replacement considering a bad situation.
Well, I think there's 2 big outs, isn't it? Ryan Burton in the back half, Port Adelaide. He controls it, uses it, run rebounds too. And, Fogarty just with his grunt up forward and his target and his kicking efficiency.
Tips?
Port.
Adelaide.
Power for me, Crossy.
Oh, well, I'm going to even it up then. I'll just say Crows for the hell of it.
Showdown 53 on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us at the Adelaide Oval.
Well, it's been a nice start, hasn't it, for everyone? There's just...
Interesting matchup too. Jonas has gone to Rankin, so we'll keep an eye on that one.
Port Adelaide fans demand a win. The Crows have a developing team, but their fans have been frustrated. So here we go out of the centre. Riley O'Brien charges through, kicks it down into the forward line for the Crows. It's hit the ground. Keys had it briefly, taken away by Farrell for Port Adelaide. Back towards centre wing. It's Michael Aney against Rioli. Ball still on the ground. Neither got possession. Powell Pepper gave it out. and got it back. Smuggled to him. Down the line with the kick. Towards the top of the 50. Butts picked it up. Slick hand pass and a quick hand pass to Hinge on his left foot down the line. Intercepted by Bergman.
He's owning the Western wing this year, Miles Bergman. Averages 20 disposals a game from the opening 2. And a run of shoulder injuries, but looks to be performing to the potential they thought at pick 14. Pops it short, hits up Burne-Jones on the logo. Broadcast side at the moment, no score. Burne-Jones heads towards the 50. Packer waits. Somehow Palpepper's got some space. Ducked in front in the hole. Takes the uncontested mark. Smack on the paint of 50. 45-degree angle to the right.
I think everyone was waiting for the kick to be a bit longer, wasn't it, too? Yep. Palpepper found his way. Max Michaelani, only in his 3rd game, just his composure in a sort of a high-pressure one-on-one. Just on Rioli, but Port Adelaide through the middle of the ground, and here they are having a shot.
1 goal, 2 for the year, Sam Palpepper. Will need to give everything for this kick. Leans back on it. He's gone a long distance. Has it carried over the ruckman on the goal line? It has. Remarkable. O'Brien couldn't get a jump at it. And Port strike first. Sam Palpepper from 55 opens proceedings at the Adelaide Oval. 1 straight 6. Adelaide yet to score in the opening 2 minutes on Grandstand AFL.
I think there's probably one thing as a senior coach that you can't get your head around is goals that aren't touched on the line. Yeah. And we just saw one there. Long shot from Palpepper, probably kicked from about 52, 53 metres. Should have been someone on the line for the Adelaide Footy Club to get a hand on that. I don't think Matthew Nix would be all that happy with that.
Riley O'Brien was there too. Yeah. He's back and he's contesting with Lycett, but Duday and O'Brien were right on the line. They just didn't read the football well at all.
And actually looking at the replay, Lycett did a pretty good job at holding O'Brien out. Good start for Port.
Couldn't ask for better. O'Brien in the middle to go against Lycett now. O'Brien high. Lycett probably had the better of it. He almost gets the clearance. O'Brien pulls him down at a tackle and the umpire comes in and says, let's have it.
Wines and Drew are the number 2, 1 and 2 clearance players for Port Adelaide, and Rory Laird has been picked up by Drew, but also Riley O'Brien is number 2 for Adelaide.
Jordan Dawson got rid of a supposed tackler and then just couldn't get a good disposal away. It was a hand pass into space. Michaelani ran back as Port Adelaide just scrambled the ball forward. Now Rosie out of the middle. Clean to Lycett. Rosie's gone down behind the play. It'll be a free kick advantage or a free kick down the ground. Only by a couple of metres. Lycett will take it.
Put down off the ball. Port Adelaide play on quickly. Houston can load up after receiving it. Heads to the top of the goal square for Dixon, who's blocked out of it. And the umpire blows his whistle. Curtis Du Bois immediately races in and hands Charlie Dixon a set shot straight in front, 10 out.
Didn't mind seeing the replay of that. Thought it was there. He did affect Charlie Dixon's run at the footy.
Went to ground quickly, Charlie.
He did.
Certainly had a fair few players on him.
Yeah.
But maybe milked it a little bit. Kicking to the Riverbank stand end. Charlie Dixon, 6'4" for the year, but this will be the easiest shot he would have taken.
I was watching him in the warm-up and they weren't all that straight.
Slow approach. This one straight over the goal umpire's hat. Bang, bang, go the power. 2 straight to start. Showdown 53. Adelaide yet to score. 4 minutes in on Grandstand AFL.
Well, this is where Adelaide's composure, isn't it? They've just got to be a little smarter now too. Yes, be critical of your opponent and who they are. And I guess Charlie Dixon is the number 1 player in the league and Port Adelaide that they go to as their forward key target. So that's where they'll want to be around him, but you can't just defend him like that. You've actually got to go up at the football and just be mindful of obviously what's around you too, but that's where they're going to go majority of the time when they go forward.
The Power make an early statement. 2 goals the better. Adelaide again, slow out of the blocks. So O'Brien and Lycett again, and Lycett had the better of it. Drew couldn't get it on the ground. Now he follows up. O'Brien's there as well. Laird with a slick hand pass. Saligo forward to Rochelle. Rochelle just bombs it inside forward 50. Cleary did well, got it away. Murphy picked it up for Adelaide near the boundary line. Gallant makes a tackle, forces a ball up. Adelaide will be happy with that. Stoppage inside forward 50 for the Crows. About 35 out near the boundary line on the left.
Power by 12. Tossed up. Lycett gets caught behind Walker, who wins it down for the Crows. Charging through. Rankin had a fumble against Jonas and does enough, the power skipper, to escort it over the boundary line at the northern end. If you do want to get in touch with us across the evening, the text line 0437 774 774. Score check as well at the MCG. St Kilda leads Essendon 1-2-8. The Bombers yet to score. Toss back in, about 30 out from the Crows' goal. Walker put a boot out, entangled with Lycett. Neither could touch it. Rosie gets a quick clearance, pushed as he kicked it, travelled about 15 metres to Scholl. He couldn't control it. Horne-Francis now caught in a tackle by Scholl, and it's high. Dropped to one knee close to the boundary line. Gave away 6 last week. Down the line the kick, up towards right half back. Wasn't a clean one. Drew under a bit of pressure, becomes the tackler, then rips it away. Gives it to Rosie, then Pal Pepper around the body. Low flat kick in front of the benches. It bounces through centre wing. Picked up by Rochelle for the Crows. Hands it off to Scholl, whose kick goes straight up and down. Charging through Tude. Fists it over the boundary line to kill it. Just behind left half forward for the Crows. Port 2 straight 12. Adelaide yet to score. 6.5 in on Grandstand AFL.
Zach Butters trying to throw his big frame around again.
Jack Burketta, bit of blood down there.
Yeah, Connor Rosie's come to the bench. He's got a cut to his cheek from that hit off the ball earlier. It's nothing too serious. I think he'll be back out there soon.
Just time to warm the crowd up a little bit more.
Jeremy Finlayson coming on for his first run.
Ready to go again. Ruckman, as usual, start from about 20 metres further back than they needed to. Dawson came through the pack, hand pass. He was looking for Scholl. On the ground, he got it, released it quickly. Rioli for Port Adelaide over the ball, and the umpire will come in. On the logo on centre wing, Port Adelaide with a fast start. They lead by 2 goals.
Tossed up on the logo. O'Brien gets rid of Lycett, takes it out of the ruck and gives it off to Murphy. Kicks around the body towards the 50. Spoilt away. Good fist there from Cleary. Rolls in front of Horne-Francis, who's brought down without it. Rochelle can gather it, but can't control it against Boak. Now Horne-Francis, the Hornet, charges through and turns it over. Gave it to Rochelle. Now to Keys from 45. Snaps on the left. It's curling towards home and just clips the right-hand goalpost. First score of the night for Adelaide is a minus score. They trail by 11, approaching the 8-minute mark on Grandstand AFL.
The more and more I see of Rochelle, the more he impresses me.
Yeah, he gets to the footy, doesn't he? He gets it, he's got time, but he's not clean always too, and he does fumble, which allows the opposition just to shut him down. But if he's clean, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah.
Bonner played on from full-back, went out to the eastern side of the ground, and it was thumped over the line by the Crows. So we get a throw in.
Spoke about efficiency too. 4-2 inside 50s in favour of Adelaide. See, Port Adelaide scored twice. Adelaide just the one behind.
Ball to come back in. And Lycett and O'Brien still out there battling away. O'Brien got to the front. Did pretty well. Lycett, though, picks the ball up. He stayed on his feet. Oh, the release was interesting. The umpire called play on. Pal Pepper slips it out. And there's going to be a free kick for holding in there. It'll go to Dersma. He drops it short for Port. And Bonner has it against the boundary line at left half back on the eastern side.
27 touches in the Sandful trial last weekend, now in the main side. Heads up through centre wing. Murray went early and almost nudged out of it. Flew nowhere near the footy. Falls to ground and Rioli can crumb. Gave it off to Houston. Tried to find Finlayson, couldn't control it. Turns it over. Coming through now. Pedler gives it off to Dawson. Barrages through one. Gets it off to Murphy. Rankin can race from 30 and finish. The skipper leads the charge and gives it to the new kid on the block. Adelaide has its first at the 9-minute mark with some beautiful play through the middle. 1-1-7. Port Adelaide 2 straight 12. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Well, that was just all class. So your coach is actually going to pull that up and just say, that is a training drill. Now, that's not being disrespectful to Port, but the way in which they kept the footy alive, they kept running, they cut the angles to allow players to get ahead. The handballs were clean and just the speed of Rankin to be able to get away from Jones.
Just the speed of Rankin, yes. It was... He made no room on him, did he, Jones? He wasn't going to catch him.
No.
So he was in stride. And Adelaide answers back. 1-1-7, trailing Port Adelaide. 2 straight 12 after 10 minutes.
What a difference it makes when you use the football and you're clean.
Out of the middle. Sloan had it taken down in a tackle straight away. And just inside the centre circles will get a ball up. Thilthorpe's come into the ruck for Adelaide. He got the tap down there. Laird got a toe to the ball, sent it towards the front of the square. It's picked up by Rankin. Around onto his right foot. Oh, he missed Scholl. He had him loose inside, half forward. And now Scholl combines with Dawson to pull down Bonner inside attacking 50 for the Crows.
Wayne Miller coming in. He's gone back. Also, Barts, which has allowed Jordan Dawson, has actually gone forward.
Hot start. Showdown 53 off the ball up. Tackle laid by Jonas on Keys, who dropped the footy. No call. And now Rory Laird's held up by Scott Lycett. So we'll try again. Still about 45 out from the Crows' goal. Walker wins it down this time. Put it in the path of Rankin. Couldn't get there, but Thilthorpe could. Kick was smothered. Ricochets out to Saligo just inside the 50. He's caught in the Lelia tackle and gives it away to Horn Francis. On the rebound, they head to the eastern side. He hits up Butters. Handball was poor. Sold Rosie into trouble immediately. Had Berry right on him. Took it out of the air and kicks it back where it came from the right half forward. Rankin on 55 marks. Too far out to score.
Had Saligo. Too slow.
Calls for calm and then dinks it over the top to Saligo, as he called Jamo. Just 15 inside the arc. Scoreboard pocket, 40 out tight angle.
Just been watching the Jonas-Rankin matchup. Around the stoppage, when there's a bit of support for Jonas, he's pretty good on Rankin. As soon as there's a bit of speed on the ball in their space, Rankin looking electric at the moment.
Two behind so far this year. Saligo, this will be tough. Check side towards goal. To sit up on the goal line, nearly claimed. Over the head, Thilthorpe. Front and square. Magnificent finish. For someone that big to be so agile. Brilliant at the top of the goal square. And Adelaide hit the front by a point. 2-1-13, the Power, 2 straight 12. 12 and a half played in the opening term on Grandstand AFL. Your experts, Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco.
And we spoke about pre-game, the swinging contested possession for Port Adelaide over the last couple of weeks. There's been a 91 swing. Technically, we'd be concerned at the moment. Contested footy, 18-10 in favour of Adelaide. Their pressure, their contest work has been superb.
Ground ball gets 2 in favour of Adelaide, 13-8. So it's one, I think, again, just the relentless pressure that Adelaide are now applying. Again, it's not clean, but the speed that they have up there at the moment to be able to just keep the footy alive is probably keeping them with their noses in the early part of this first quarter.
Riley Thilthorpe back in the middle, gets the tap down to Laird. Laird, quick hand pass off in the direction of Berry. He's worried out of it. Boat picked it up. Forward hand pass. Finlayson towards the top of the 50. Mark for Dixon. Steps back inside the centre square. Holds it up now. Don't know if he's got the leg in him.
No, he might struggle with this distance unless he just Warren Treadrace style swings out and really gives it to it.
He swung out and he really gives it to it. And it's going very close, but it won't make it. On the line, Crows have defenders there and they knock it through for the minor score. So scores are level after 13 minutes of Showdown 53. It's 2-1 apiece.
Sam Pepper, 5 disposals for Port Adelaide. Bergman with 4, Rankin 3, also Josh Rochelle with 3.
Living up to the hype so far, Showdown 53. Hinge plays on from the defensive goal square, heads long to an outnumber at right half back. Off hands, Keys keeps it in play. Flicks it back into Scholl. Fans thought it was a throw. Adelaide get away with it. Down the line he goes to Galan, who gives it back to Keys. Piercing kick up to left half forward to Pedler. But the momentum will slow down now as Port flood back. We'll look inside. Hits up Dawson, plays on immediately. Races around Jonas, heads to the top of the goal square. Colliding Horn Francis, completely took out Houston. And it may roll through for a goal. Crows are calling touched, but the goal umpire isn't phased. Jordan Dawson has been given a gimme because the Power defenders have completely taken each other out. And Adelaide now advanced to a 6-point lead, 3-1-19. The Power 2-1-13. 15 minutes played in the opening term.
They look sharp, Adelaide, don't they?
Yeah,
just their hands are really clean. Port Adelaide unable to apply enough pressure to cause that turnover. By foot, they look clean. They're on at the moment, Adelaide. They look really, really sharp.
Well, I think what's positive about it too, they're getting in low and hard, which is to the advantage. And Alir wants it up and wants it there. Cleary too would like it up with a bit of height, as with Tommy Jonas. So I think the attack move for Adelaide is to get it in low and hard as you quickly can, keep the footy alive. But again, we spoke Adelaide up the other end and allow it to go through. Port Adelaide just did the same then on that occasion.
Yeah.
O'Brien with a tap straight down ahead. Adelaide come away through Laird. Hand pass back to O'Brien. Gave it back to Laird. Back in the centre circles. He goes to Dawson. Dawson just slams the ball inside forward 50. Ball comes to ground. Gallant stuck a boot at it. It's about 25 from goal. Bonner picked it up for Port Adelaide. Away come Farrell with hand pass receive. He found Finlayson in the middle of the ground under pressure from O'Brien. He just dawdled. Michael Annie picked it up, gave the pass to half forward. Mark taken by Keys, inside forward 50. Adelaide off the pack to Pedlar. Hand pass forward, second coming up for Rankin. Rankin with another goal. Adelaide get away to a 12-point lead, 4-1-25. Port Adelaide 2-1-13. 16 minutes down in the opening quarter, and on the boundary, Jack Burketta.
Bit of concern down here for the Crows. Taylor Walker has come to the bench complaining with a problem with his left groin. The doctors have got him on the bed and having a look at it. I'll keep you posted.
Just going back to that Port Adelaide, I think it was Finlayson who had the footy on the wing. He looked up, he had nothing to kick to, just delayed the hand pass, and the pressure from Adelaide again was superb to cause the turnover. And I tell you what, one bloke who's looming as the absolute game breaker is Rankin at the moment. At the moment, Port Adelaide have no one to go to him with the speed and the smarts to influence anything that he's doing at the moment.
I'm surprised Darcy Byrne-Jones is probably the one that you'd want in defence to maybe go and shut him down. Tommy Jonas is getting the run around 10-3 inside 50s in favour of Adelaide.
Yep.
12-point lead to the Crows in the middle. Horn Francis head over the footy, was taken away from it by Berry. Whistle is late, and it will go to the Crows. Not sure what's happened there. He didn't gather the footy. O'Brien did take him down. Berry took him down, rather, and O'Brien, meanwhile, has received the footy for a free kick against Finlayson. He'll go long up to right half forward. Plenty of Crows to pick from. Berry, front position, marks unopposed. Too far out to score and called to play on. He'll head to the scoreboard pocket. It was a poor delivery. Gallant was caught behind, and it's intercepted by Houston. He'll go across the arc and hit up Lockie Jones in the right back pocket.
Jones assesses, nothing available inside. Forced to come down the line. Good defensive work by the Crows forwards, but then the kick down the line finds the chest of Marshall away from Murray.
His first touch too. Alir, Cleary and Tom Jonas have not touched the football yet for Port Adelaide.
Marshall just holds up the ball. Dangerous inside, and Jude comes across the front, picks it off with one hand, reaching back over his head. Goes down to half forward for the Crows. Keys with the mark at left half forward. Inside with a hand pass off to Millerer. Millerer drives it to the top of the goal square. Cleary with a punch away. On the ground, Horn Francis taken in a solid tackle. We'll get a ball up, 25 out, virtually straight in front for the Crows, who lead by 12 points.
Bit of a pause here as we figure out who's going to be the ruck. It ends up being Houston, and he's beaten comfortably by Thilthorpe. Took it out and went for goal, but couldn't get boot to ball. Farrell took it away. Port clear. Straight back to Sloan. At centre half forward, he gives it to Rochelle. Tackled as he kicked it. Will it matter? Aaliyah back with the flight has taken the mark right on the goal line. And Adelaide won't get a score here. Chip mark between Farrell, Bonner and now Houston in the scoreboard pocket as Port look to exit cleanly, but they've had some trouble in their back half here. Kick finds Houston, he hands it off. Bonner kept going up towards centre wing. Dixon gets ahead of Butts, clunks it, gives it off to Rosie running by. Last year's showdown medalist hands it off to Bergman. On the right, he heads high to the left forward pocket, trying to get a run in it. Drew stayed down, as did Marshall, floating across the front shoal. Did he play on? Yes! He marked. Took a step off the line, and immediately Powell Pepper knew, wrapped him up, dropped the footy, and in a split second, Port have nabbed a shot on goal straight in front.
Well, I'd like to see that again on the replay. Gee whiz, that's tough.
He actually just went to kick, and Powell Pepper was right behind him.
My understanding is, too, the umpire has to officially call play on before he can effect the tackle. I'm not sure the umpire did.
Incredible reflexes from Powell Pepper. He comes in and converts his second from 20. One goal game at the Adelaide Oval in Showdown 53. The Crows 4-1-25 Port Adelaide 3-1-19, time on in the first. Jack Paquetta's on the bound.
Taylor Walker's back on the field now. He's done a couple of run-throughs. He said his groin still felt a little bit tight, but it looks as though they're going to try and give it a go and get through to quarter time.
Well, a much-needed goal there for Port Adelaide against the flow of play, Jamo. Obviously, Adelaide irrepressible at the moment with their pressure on the ball and the contested footy +10 in favour of the Adelaide Footy Club. But Port Adelaide against the flow, Powell Pepper, who's almost been single-handedly keeping Port Adelaide in this contest.
Charlie Dixon, and Charlie Dixon, the player they go to, is marking it out on the wing. So they actually didn't have the targets that they would have hoped when they got it deep in their 50. A little bit of luck.
Here we go, back in the middle. And it's O'Brien and Lycett. Ball comes straight down. Lycett picks it up and then releases it in the tackle of O'Brien. Still in doubt. Wines came through, gave it to Burn-Jones off half-back. Ahead of centre wing, he finds Butters. So Butters goes to his right, sends it in long. Marshall did well and Murray came from behind him very well. Reached around, he was trying to take it on his chest and Marshall couldn't. Murray got the punch over the boundary line just outside defensive 50 for the Crows.
He does really well, doesn't he, Tom Marshall? I think that, or Todd Marshall, what he's done, he's really involved when it's actually time to use the body, go at the football. They probably just don't utilise him as enough as they should.
6 goals from 2 games so far, Todd Marshall. Tossed back in, Lycett won the tap down and was brought down late by O'Brien. Receives the free kick, right half forward, too far out to score though. Quiet start to the season for Scott Lycett. His name has been floated in free agency options. He is out of contract this year. Centres his kick to 30 out. Leading in front is Dixon. Strong in the air. Stuck both mitts up. Had 2 tall defenders on him and still clumped it in the pack. 30 out. Slight angle to the right.
Well, that's why Port Adelaide got him, isn't it? That's exactly the scenario. He's got massive mitts. Get it in front. It's really difficult for a defender, but he doesn't do it enough, Josh.
No, and as you said, the advantage of having someone that can do that just releases the pressure, but he must go back and finish.
Big Charlie Dixon. Only 12 games last year due to an ankle injury. Looks back to his best at the moment. Leans back on the kick and levels the score at the Adelaide Oval. Dixon has 2. 4-1, 25 apiece. Still 6 minutes to play in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, you take what you can, but it's against the green, isn't it, at the moment? Just the way that Port Adelaide, they've gone inside 6 times, they've got 4 goals. So as a coaching opposition group, you're just going, we've got to somehow shut this down. They can't keep going in at that percentage and scoring.
So watching the replay, and Junior Rioli coming across and buffeting, bumping Butts, who was trying to get to Dixon, allowed Dixon a good rein on the ball. So back in the middle, it'll be O'Brien to go against Lycett.
Kane Farrell has gone to Isaac Rankin.
Lycett just with a smash forward. Adelaide first there with Dawson. He couldn't get possession, nor could Berry. And umpire comes in, says, separate boys, last man up, Travis Boak. So the ball goes in the air. And Boak took it away. Did he get taken high? He fell backwards into O'Brien, and it is high, so Boak will take the free kick.
28 showdowns crossing.
29th tonight.
29th.
3-time showdown medalist as well. He hands it off this time, though, to Farrell. We know he's got a booming kick. He heads long, clears the pack in the left forward pocket and rolls over the boundary line. 4-1, 25 apiece on the text line 0437 774 774. B in Mount Gambier says, hi team, Hawks supporter here. I imagine you'd be very happy, B. Hoping for a close game with the power in front. Wondering when Stephen Williams is coming back. He'll be on next weekend for Adelaide and Freo. Toss back into play. It clears both rucks in the Port's attacking 50. Butters claimed it. Didn't dispose of the footy. Almost jumped into the possession. Immediately was tackled and has been pinged holding the ball against Sam Berry.
Yeah, that's a fair call. Try the fend off. That's the prior opportunity. Fair decision there by the umpire.
Berry in the right back pocket. Heads out into the eastern side of the ground. Big pack. Cleary at the back. Takes the mark away from Walker. Hand passes wide to Farrell. Farrell gets pushed by Walker as he takes the ball and then he takes it to the boundary line and the umpire says, throw it in. So defensive work from Adelaide keeps it out of their forward 50, or Port Adelaide's forward 50 at least.
Scores level. Plenty of momentum shifts in this opening term and a sellout crowd as well. Lysett wins it down. Tap went straight to Sloane though. His handball wasn't clean. He turned it over to Lysett, who gave it back to Laird. Messy football, but they finally get away with the Crows. Kick to Walker. Some jeers from the crowd. He hands it off to Sloane. And now the kick to Rankin. Forward of centre wing on the eastern side. Right in front of the Max Bashir stand. Rankin already with 2 tonight. Heads towards right half forward. Pedlard's outnumbered. And Burne-Jones will spoil it. Over into row 4. Out on that eastern side. 4-1-25 apiece. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco, Jack Paquetta with you for the call. Showdown 53 on Grandstand AFL.
As good as Taylor Walker is, just watching him now too, he's gone back behind the football, but I think he's going to act as a bit of a decoy to keep Aliir out of that contest when Adelaide go forward.
From the throw-in, found Bergman off the ruck contest, and then he was immediately grabbed by Berry, so another ball up closer to the forward 50 for Adelaide. Sloane with a quick hand pass to Dawson inside 50. That was a bare 15, and it was marked low down. And Pedlar will go back and have a look at the goals from about 40 out.
Well, Luke Pedlar, not his absolute strength in front of goal. I think he kicked 6 behinds last year before he actually kicked his first goal. 1 goal, 2 for the year.
Product locally out of the Glenelg Football Club. In he comes. Drives it long and drives it straight. Crows sneak one back late in the quarter. 27 minutes down. It's Adelaide 5-1-31. Port Adelaide 4-1-25.
We talk about momentum swings, Aaron. I think you mentioned it earlier in this quarter. There's already been 3 or 4 momentum changes, hasn't there? Port Adelaide started the game on fire. Adelaide then able to gain momentum just through sheer pressure and intensity around the contest. Port Adelaide came back with a couple of goals, probably the first one to Pau Pepper, unwarranted with that dubious free kick in front of goals, but Adelaide late in this quarter, good goal to finish.
The runs at the moment, 2 goals basically either side, so Adelaide may be kicking the next one here. Quarter time at the MCG, St Kilda lead Essendon by 27 points. If you do want to hear that, jump on the ABC Listen app and hit the AFL button. Meanwhile, in the middle, it is Adelaide by 6. Still a fair few minutes to play in the opening term. Lysett wins it down. Head over the footy. Dawson wrapped up in the Wines tackle, who actually rips it away and gets a handball out off the ground to Drew. Clearing kick for the Power. Into the 50. It bounces perfectly for Finlayson, who disposes Duday, hands it over the top, and Jones can run in for the finish. Outstanding body work from Jeremy Finlayson to set up young Lockie Jones. He's got his 4th of the campaign. Port Adelaide's 5th of the night to level proceedings once again. 5-1-31 apiece. 28 played on Grandstand AFL.
I think where Adelaide are getting stung here too, Josh, is in the middle of the ground. Like when it goes to a contest or the throw up, it actually comes in and there's a contest in there, but then the ball gets squirted out, and then Port Adelaide seem to be winning those areas and getting it forward. Adelaide haven't been able to do that unless they take the clearance first and go forward. So their second and third efforts need to be a bit better in the middle of the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about Finlayson's body work there on the call. What about his hands and his vision to be able to spot Jones up? Just that lateral awareness to give that handball to advantage. Superb play there from Finlayson.
Out of the middle, Adelaide first possession again briefly through Keys. Now Berry puts his head down, was taken down in a tackle, socked away by Wines towards that man Jones, who burst through from half forward, but he's got his back to goal, and then he got robbed of the ball and then gets it back from Murphy, who errant hand pass. Little slippery kick came out for Port Adelaide and they're away, and inside half forward with an opportunity maybe for Finlayson. No. Picked up by Duday. He's tackled straight away and we'll get a ball up. And just notice behind play, and Horn Francis, who was involved in that last play, got a little kick in there. May have got a kick himself. Just limping a bit.
He's just received it though. Lysett puts it down the throat of Horn Francis. He hands it off to Pau Pepper, who snapped around the body from 50. Caught the side of the boot. Didn't really get the angle on the curl, and it's out on the full in the left back pocket for the Crows.
Just the ball went over the boundary line there, and Port Adelaide fan had it. refused to hand it to the Adelaide player, just dropped it on the
Kills
ground.
some time. It is a hostile crowd for the Crows tonight. Sell out. Most of the Power fans in the bars as well. Port Adelaide wearing it for the second time in a showdown. Clearing kick. Good fly across. Mark taken by Murray. He looks for the switch. All the way out to the broadcast wing. Hits Scholl, who's all alone. Dangerous kick though. Try to get it down to Murphy. And the intercept marked by Drew is taken. High free kick regardless. He dove across the front of the benches.
Outstanding.
In front of Murphy. Very brave. And pops up unimpeded. Kicks inside to Burn-Jones. Scores level 31 apiece. Still time for a score. Burn-Jones back to Drew. Mark centre wing, western side. They're kicking to the Riverbank stand end if you're just joining us. Drew heads long to a pack. At half forward, Crows have numbers. And Dawson somehow is alone in the middle of it all to take the intercept mark. He'll dink it to Hinge close to the boundary line.
Dixon went down off the ball in that contest that allowed Dawson to come free. Now it's with Scholl near the interchange gates. Took the mark inside with a hand pass straight away to Pedlar, trying to get away from Powell Pepper. And under the pressure, he's turned it over. Play on because it wasn't 15. It was taken by Drew, who handed it off to Powell Pepper. Then down the line, Hinge takes an intercept mark ahead of Marshall for Adelaide. And now he's to play on. And Wines grabbed him. Came from behind again. Just like Powell Pepper before. On the logo on centre wing, Dixon tries to burst through. It's come to Horne-Francis. Little dinky kick, that was good. He rolled it along the ground to Drew, and now out wide he finds Powell Pepper down the line. It was touched by Smith, picked up by Butters, sent it up inside forward. 50, great mark, Dersma. Took it away from Dawson in Port Adelaide. They're swarming Dawson to tell him all about it. Meanwhile, Dersma will line up from 40 out.
It's a bit of an ugly passage of play, wasn't it? Just turnover after turnover, and Port Adelaide probably ended up being a little bit cleaner with that entry inside forward 50. And as you said, Dersma, that's a terrific contested mark.
Can't do a whole lot about it. Would have been preferred that an Adelaide defender may have assisted and gone with him from behind and just left Dawson underneath the football as that stepladder.
Xavier Dersma without a goal this season through 2 matches. Comes in, and where's the bow and arrow? Out it comes. Late goal for Port Adelaide in the opening quarter. 32 minutes down. Port Adelaide grabs back the lead. 6-1-37. Adelaide 5-1-31.
It's almost got that feel of a traditional showdown, doesn't it, Jamo? The side that can maintain enough composure when they've got the ball in their hand and not turn it over or panic through quick kicking or handballing to the opposition is going to be the side that almost has momentum in those, critical moments within the course of the quarter and the game.
Just thinking smart, Lockie Scholl, Adelaide's done it. Murphy down here too. Mitch Hinge wanted to get it on. They just, at this point of a quarter, just think about maintaining possession. Like both sides hold up a sign and say 2 minutes to go or 1 minute to go. You don't need to get it on. You maintain possession. Just slow the game down.
Port by 6, dying stages of the opening term. Lysett wins it down. It bounced off Powell Pepper. Dawson with a little tunnel flick back to O'Brien. Couldn't control it. What a ripping quarter of footy to start showdown at 53. The Power leads 6-1-37 to Adelaide's 5-1-31. But we have a great game of footy on our hands. Port by 6. The goal scorers at the first break for the home side. 2 to Dixon and Powell Pepper. Singles to Dersma and Jones. For the Crows, 2 to Rankin. Singles to Dawson, Pedlar and Thilthorpe. The text line 0437 774 774. It is great to have you with us for a massive game in the state of South Australia on Grandstand AFL, on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
For extreme entertainment, stream comedy whenever you like on ABC iView.
That's so cool.
Extreme feel-goods with Ghosts, Ronnie Cheng International Student and Summer Love.
Never hold back, kids.
Extreme funnies from the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
That means a lot.
And extreme good times with Starstruck, Peep Show and Fisk.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's Extreme Comedy Gold.
So cool.
And you can stream it all for free on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Saligo, this will be tough. Check side towards goal. To sit up on the goal line, nearly claimed. Over the head, Thilthorpe. Front and square. Magnificent finish. It's up Dawson, plays on immediately. Races around Jonas, heads to the top of the goal square. Colliding on Francis, completely took out Houston, and it may roll through for a goal.
Michael Annie picked it up, gave the pass to half forward. Mark taken by Keys, inside forward 50. Adelaide off the pack to Pedlar, hand pass forward, second coming up for Rankin.
Incredible reflexes from Pal Pepper. He comes in and converts his second from 20. Big Charlie Dixon looks back to his best at the moment, leans back on the kick and levels the score at the Adelaide Oval.
Sloan with a quick hand pass to Dawson, inside 50. That was a bare 15. And it was marked low down. And Pedlar will go back and have a look at the goals from about 40 out. In he comes, drives it long and drives it straight.
Clearing kick for the Power into the 50. It bounces perfectly for Finlayson, who disposes Duday, hands it over the top, and Jones can run in for the finish.
Xavier Dersma without a goal this season through 2 matches. Comes in, and where's the bow and arrow? Out it comes.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Close game, sellout crowd. Has all the makings of a magnificent showdown at 53 on Grandstand AFL. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call. Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco, your experts. Jack McKetta on the boundary. Port Adelaide lead by 6 points at the first change. 6-1-37 plays 5-1-31 at the MCG. St Kilda lead Essendon by 20 points, 5-4-34 to 2-2-14. If you do want to hear that game, jump on the ABC Listen app. And earlier today, Hawthorn defeating North Melbourne by 19 and Carlton defeating GWS by 10. We should mention as well a disclaimer that, Josh, you are voting on the Showdown medal tonight, which is very exciting, obviously, and it means that 3, 2 and 1 in the ABC Footballer of the Year becomes very easy. But how have you seen things so far?
Well, it's interesting. Port Adelaide started the game really well. They kicked the first 2, and I must admit, I reckon about the 20-minute mark of that first quarter, putting my Port Adelaide hat on, I was a little bit concerned. Adelaide looked irrepressible around the contest, their intensity to put pressure on Port Adelaide to cause turnovers. There was speed on the ball, there was space up forward, and Rankin was almost looking like, and I know it was only in the first quarter, but he was almost looking like the game breaker. No one could go with him. He looked really dangerous. But you talk about key moments in games, and I don't like to bang on about the umpires, but that holding the ball with Pal Pepper on shoal, I'd like to see the replay of it. I'm not sure if it was there or if the umpire actually called play on, which I think is part of the rule. That almost swung the momentum back in favour of Port Adelaide.
And they're just going to be really smart about it too. I just thought the matchups Rankin on Tom Jonas, I think is Adelaide could expose that even further, and we saw that with the space that Tom Jonas allowed. He likes the contest. I think Butts on Dixon, it's okay. Dixon's kicked 2, but continued to allow that one to happen. I think Sam Pepper predominantly forward has been the key, hasn't he, for Port Adelaide to really keep him in. And I think that just the Willem Drew intercept down here where Adelaide were running out of defence and he was able to get across and do that. I think you're right too. I think Adelaide had 4 goals at that particular point, and then Rochelle snapped. Alir had his first touch on the line. Port Adelaide only had 4 as well. So Adelaide sort of had the momentum at that particular stage. If, could have, would have, but what it's allowed to, Port Adelaide have gone forward. That secondary possession in the centre is a concern for me that Port Adelaide seem to be utilising or getting a hold of that forward and getting it forward better than what Adelaide are doing.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at the interesting matchup, as you talked about, that Jonas v Rankin, around the stoppage where there's numbers and Jonas can help or get help from his teammates in that scenario, and there's a lot of congestion around the footy, I don't mind it. But when the ball's in open play or Rankin's playing higher up the ground, I reckon that's danger signs for Port Adelaide and Tom Jonas. That's where he's got to hand over, give it to the guys that can run and have the speed to go with Rankin, because 1v1 in space, it's going to be Rankin every day of the week.
Jonas yet to touch the footy and only had 3 last week against Collingwood. I know it's not his primary role to be a ball winner, but he's only got the 1 tackle in terms of stats tonight, and obviously 2 goals kicked against him from Isaac Rankin. So,
well, Farrell has gone to Rankin again, Alir, and then Thilthorpe deep. Cleary's gone there, and Tommy Jonas has gone over to pick up Luke Pedlar.
Port Adelaide by 6, and they will be kicking to the northern end in this second term on Grandstand AFL. The score check at the MCG, Saints still up by 20, so 5-4-34 to 2-2-14 with 11 minutes to play there. quickly get some stats for you as well, if I can. The AFL website's a bit dodgy these days, but let's have a quick look.
Oh, be careful.
Not to throw any shade, all individual goal scorers there. So Wood, Shield, Perkins, Owens, Higgins, Caminiti and Butler in that contest at the MCG. Here, though, Dixon has 2, Palpeppa has 2, Rankin has 2. Scores are plenty in a close game in Showdown 53. All could bounce in the middle. Favoured O'Brien. Couldn't get there in the end. Lysett charged across and the umpire calls play on. And hands and knees. Juan Francis gets it out towards Rosie. Then back to Lysett. He'll use Rosie again, who's open, running through the logo on the western wing. Heads inside 50 for the power. Lockie Jones and Todd Marshall battling for position. They held off the defenders, so Butters could race through at the back and kick the opener of their second term. Port Adelaide strike first and are up by 12. 7-1-43. Adelaide 5-1-31. It took 30 seconds for the power to hit the scoreboard in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I tell you what, if you're a young footballer out there watching this on the telly and listening to the ABC, Juan Francis take a bow. His work to win that contested ball in the centre of the ground, just didn't dispose of it willy-nilly. He just held it for a little bit longer, showed some composure, dished off and set up that inside 50 and ultimate goal to Butters.
Just another example, isn't it, where Port Adelaide are on top too.
Yeah.
Like he was able to maintain his composure, as you highlighted. Lysett involved, run and rebound. Rosie does second and third effort, and away they go. And how does Butters have so much room and space up there?
12-point lead for Port Adelaide. Out of the middle this time, it's Adelaide through Saligo. It was Laird at the base of the pack who got it there. Finally, it comes to Sloan by the hand pass, and then he goes inside forward 50, and the big arms of Thilthorpe up and takes the mark. They've been working hard on his contested marking, and it's paid off this time. And he's going to kick from about 40 out, just to the left.
Well, he's almost difficult, and if not impossible, to match up on if he jumps up at the football like that. Years gone by, he stands back and tries to manhandle his opponent, which he doesn't get that jump up. It's like a Tom Lynch Richmond. Charlie Dixon we saw in the first quarter, and look at the advantage.
Thilthorpe in and straight. And he's happy. He has his second. Adelaide get one back. Cut it to a 6-point margin. Adelaide 6-1-37. Port Adelaide 7-1-43. Straight kicking tonight.
Absolutely, and obviously with the new 6-6-6 rule at centre bounce, it just shows how much an influence that rule has had. The first 2 centre clearances of this second quarter resulted in goals both to Port Adelaide and the Adelaide Footy Club. And again, it just shows the ability, if your mids can get first use of it around the scramble, get it inside your forward 50, and you've got tall guys that can take contested marks, massive advantage.
Yeah.
We mentioned in the pre-game, Adelaide 39% from marks inside 50 converted to a goal, worst in the league, and they're looking much better tonight.
Dawson off the wing, Drew going with him into the middle of the ground, Saligo and Boak out to the wing.
Power by 6 once again, a quarter-time margin. In the middle, O'Brien wins it down. It went straight up and down into Lysett as he fell back to the turf. Stripped of it in the tackle by Rochelle, and there's a holding free kick that will go Port Adelaide's way to Rosie, and Laird sticks a knee in him as well as he tries to get to his feet. Hands it off. He had Farrell running and he falconed it straight into the head of Murphy, who pops back up and charges in fighting for the footy. How is he going there? The booming left foot into the side of the head. Rosie now trying to rip it out. Handball looking to Jonas, who becomes the tackler on Rankin, drives him into the turf. Late whistle will go the way of Adelaide. Pushing the back, and Rankin lets him know about it as well. There's a bit of feeling in this now. Rankin hands it off. He has a runner outside, and Millerer into the 50. And he hits up Murphy, leading out. Takes it 40 from home, slight angle to the right. Busy couple of minutes there for Lockie Murphy.
Looked like Tommy Jonas was trying to wrestle a crocodile then with Isaac Rankin. He just did not want to let him go, but in the end he gave away a silly free in the middle of the ground.
And I sort of question Farrell's intent to get that handball receive in that scenario. I know he's a beautiful kick and he does provide run and drive, but he had pressure coming, kicked it into the man, caused the turnover, shot on goal for Adelaide.
Comes close to the man on the mark, Lockie Murphy, and he won't have the distance or the accuracy as a result. It bounces off the pack and rolls over the boundary line, left forward pocket. Riverbank stand ends, so no score. Port Adelaide by 6 at the moment.
And this is where you've got to be on high alert if you're Farrell in this example where you're on Isaac Rankin, because he's so dangerous in this scenario.
Ball tossed in high. Lysett knocked it to the front, straight to Horn Francis, off to Aaliyah. Ball was smothered off the boot by Dawson over the line. Just by this, I thought Horn Francis might be receiving a free kick. He is. Yeah, I thought he was taken high after he disposed of the ball.
Yeah, he was.
Umpire saw that. Just by the by, Rory Laird before had a go at Rosie. I've not seen Rory Laird on the sledge, but I tell you what, he was into Rosie before. Horn Francis takes the kick. Riley O'Brien goes to ground off the ball. Ball is on the ground through the pack. Hand pass out by Laird towards Sloane. Inboard he went to Murray. Backed out of a tackle brilliantly. Then across into the centre of play. He found Pedler. Wide with his hand pass to Saligo. On centre wing. Drives it long. Inside forward 50. Big pack. Great grab. Dawson pulls it down for Adelaide. He'll be kicking for his second goal.
Love the role the skipper that he's played tonight too. He's been back, he's wing, he's midfielder, now he's up forward, which he did a little bit in that first quarter. Really difficult for Drew. He's just got to be sharp and smart to go with him.
But what I will say as well, and I know it's easy sitting up here in the commentary box, you don't have pressure, but the high loopy ball inside forward 50 that Dawson can take an uncontested mark, it's almost inexcusable from the Port Adelaide defenders.
I thought Saligo's kick was the poor option actually. He had one a little bit shorter and went long just straight into the arms of the defence.
Like junior footy for Dawson. He's been back, he's been forward, he's been in the middle, he's taking marks, and he's missing goals. Didn't want to do that one. So from maybe 35 out, hooked it, minus score. 6-2 on the board for Adelaide, 7-1 for Port Adelaide, 5-point lead for the Power.
Quick play on from Houston, who heads to the eastern side. 3-on-3 awaits. It bounces off the head of Duday. Dixon can gather and kicks it straight up and down. Just forward of the logo. Barry back with the flight, couldn't claim it. Spills out to Lockie Jones for the Power. Uses Bergman. Heads towards the scoreboard pocket. Marshall's got some space, but can't claim it. Murray was on his tail. He's gone to ground as well, clutching his left leg here, Todd Marshall.
Is it a knee or an ankle?
Yeah, I think he's grabbing at the knee here, and he's very proppy as he gets to his feet.
No.
Pal Peppers lifted him up. Thankfully, the trainers haven't rushed down, and he's walked back. So
Dip it in the ground.
Toss back here, and O'Brien wins it down. Crows have numbers. Berry rushes with the clearance, just threw it on the boot. Lysett charges out with the fist, knocks it towards the boundary line, and Berry will have scored it over. So look back on Todd Marshall, who's starting to get into a bit of a jog. So no huge concerns there for the young forward. Close to Port Adelaide's attacking 50. They're leading by 5.
So in that scoreboard pocket, ball to be thrown in. And it was O'Brien who had the better of it. Horn Francis, though, took the tap inside forward 50 off the left foot. Straight out in front of the goal face. Jones picked it up, slipped it to Dersma, side of the foot. It goes into the right forward pocket, rolls out in front of the scoreboard. So we'll get a throw in. Power on the march. They lead only by 5 points, though. Biggest margin in the match was 12 points, as it has been a couple of times, including 30 seconds into this quarter.
Toss back in, 30 out from Port's goal. O'Brien should have claimed it but lost it. Miller was there for the assist anyway. His handball wasn't clean to Barry. Port intercept. Rosie can gather and snap from 15 on the tight angle. Port Adelaide capitalise on a defensive lapse from the Crows. And they're up by 11 in showdown 53. 8-1-49. Plays 6-2, 38. 8.5 played in the second term on Grandstand AFL. Jack Becketta on the boundary.
Well, as the boys go at it in the middle of the field, we've got Todd Marshall very slowly making his way off. I'll keep you posted.
So Horn Francis just started to get into a few of the players. He's a bit lippy, and then Adelaide players have come to remonstrate. Then all players have joined in to do the same. Now they've all separated, heading back to their positions.
So Port Adelaide 2-1 for the quarter, but we're still staying on that path of it's a high-scoring contest.
Look, it is, and just looking at some of the stats as well. Port Adelaide, Travis spoke just the 3 disposals. They've got to find a way to get him involved, whether it's more time inside, and Junior Rioli, just the 1 disposal.
Yeah,
just not influencing enough.
Adelaide, Brodie Smith too, senior and a player that needs to get the football in his hand. He hasn't had a touch, and Max Michaelani just the 1. Taylor Walker also 1.
Lysett out of the middle, took his own ball off the ruck contest, down towards half forward.
On cue.
Yeah, you mentioned Rioli, took the mark.
Anybody else need to kick?
Just inside the centre square. He was allowed to wander off, and he was not called to play on, and then booms it long. He took full advantage of the space he was allowed, and Port Adelaide get back-to-back goals. 9-1-55, Adelaide 6-2-38, 9 minutes in to the second term.
I reckon another decision Adelaide fans wouldn't be all that thrilled about. Just watching Junior Rioli took the mark. He came off the line about 3 steps. Miller on the mark.
Couldn't move.
Yeah, he didn't want to move because the umpire didn't call play on. And he could take another 10 or 15 metres and have a shot at goal from 50.
Let's talk about Port Adelaide's efficiency too at the moment. 16 inside 50s for 9 goal, 10 shots. So, wow, 60%.
On a night where the umpires have been quick to call play on when they've stood off the line, that was the polar opposite, and the stand rule has come into play and gifted the Power a goal. 17 points their lead at the MCG. The Saints have just gone up by 26 against the Bombers with 5 minutes to play in the second. Lysett wins it down against O'Brien and then gathers the pill as well. Crumbed it and gave it off to Wines, who races away, arches the back against Keys, but then delivers it poorly inside 50. Finlayson was leading out, but he gave it straight to Michael Annie. And the youngster pops it short to Dawson. Not sure it was 15. Called to play on. Heads to the eastern side. Murphy. Wrapped up by Burne-Jones and still claims the mark, falling backwards. Plays on it immediately. Races away. Heads into the 50. Pedler came across, couldn't claim it. Spills out though to Rochelle. Hands it wide. Scholes all alone from 30. His snap has a big arc. And as a result, it's a minor score on the left-hand side. He just put too much on the curve. Adelaide 6-3-39. Port Adelaide 9-1-55. 11 into the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, in this second quarter alone, you've had Jordan Dawson mid a sitter from 30 out. Lockie Scholl the same then too. Port Adelaide's only behind is a rushed.
Port Adelaide have got it out to Bonner in the left back pocket on this broadcast side down the line as he plays on. O'Brien comes forward, takes a strong mark ahead of Marshall, and then slips the hand pass away to the left foot of Hinge, who drives it long inside forward 50. Gallant made the contest, follows up on the ground, but it's taken away by Scholl. Hand pass to Rochelle. He's pulled down by a couple, and he'll be forced to ball it up the umpire very close to the boundary line where the arc meets the boundary line. We'll get a ball up. Jack Burketta.
Just quickly, Todd Marshall, as you mentioned, has made his way out. They did the ACL test and it looks all clear.
Tossed up, Finlayson won it down. Bergman charging in, couldn't control it. Ripped away by Keys. Throws it on the boot off a step. Walker nearly pulled it in with one arm against Aaliyah. Then falls onto the footy. Aaliyah on top of him, holding the ball.
I think the difference in this quarter for Adelaide is that when they have gone forward, they're gone high, haven't they? Which is very different to what they were doing in the first quarter where it was low and fast.
Showdown medalist Aaliyah quiet tonight so far and called to play on. He'll head to the broadcast wing. Packer waits. Dixon gets a run at it. Spoiled away by Butts. Front and square was Burne-Jones. Handball back for the Power. Tumbles its way to Jones. Lockie Jones, that is, who fumbled. Couldn't control it. Lost it. Thilthorpe charges through. Spins through the Lockie Jones tackle and gives it back to Darcy Burne-Jones. Port on the counter. Up to half forward. Rioli flies. Made a contest. Trickles towards centre half forward. Sloan can paddle it towards Murphy. Shrugs the tackle and gives it back to his former skipper. And now the Crows on the counter. Berry can't control it. Wonder if it's a little wet out there because the pill is bouncing around. Butter's taken away from it. Port fans aren't happy and Berry can finally clear.
Down the line, Gallant was just nudged under the ball by Cleary. Umpire said, go back, take a free kick. So Gallant for Adelaide. He's only had a handful of possessions, if that. And he goes backwards diagonally with his kick. So behind centre wing, it's Duday with the mark for Adelaide. He looks down the line and he's forced to kick that way. And it's that contest between Gallant and Cleary again. Comes to ground. Murphy picks it up. Taken high by Wines. Free kick left half forward. Backs out and then kicks down inside forward 50. Kept it low. Gallant made the contest again. Offhand straight to Port Adelaide. And they've cleared it away. But another chance through Duday for Adelaide.
Looks inside to Miller. Stepped off his line, called to play on, but no one on the mark. He'll settle. Look to switch. Michael Annie, back edge, the centre square, I should say. Then pops it on the 45 to Brodie Smith. True centre wing right in front of us and the benches. Back inside to Michael Annie. Couple of touches here for the third gamer.
It's going to work their way forward, Adelaide.
Yeah, a bit more method, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hinge now hits up Butts, takes it on the chest. True centre. Josh Franco, Rod Jamieson, your experts this evening. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross with you for the call. It is the Power by 16 as the Crows continue to chip it around. Hinge found Keys, again called to play on. Umpire's quick on it tonight. To the left forward pocket, outnumbered the Crows, so Aaliyah can fly and spoil over the boundary line, left forward pocket. About 35 out, inside 50 for Adelaide, who are kicking to the southern end. Riverbank stand end as well. Very even game at the moment.
So Adelaide need a goal just to get themselves back into the contest. And off the hands of the pack, it came to Rankin. He shook a couple of tackles, then gave it to Laird. He looked inside, he went outside with a hand pass, and he sent it behind Sloan, who was on the charge, by about a metre. So we get a throw in. Adelaide about 30 around from the goal face in the left forward pocket, attacking that Riverbank stand end of the Adelaide Oval. Packed house here tonight. Mostly Power fans, of course. It's their home game. Ball off the contest again, and the Rucks. Oh, Rosie extracted it, gave it to Finlayson, tumbles a ball outside defensive 50 for Port Adelaide. Duday came in, took it towards the boundary line. He was under pressure the whole way. Didn't stop an appeal from Butters for perhaps not sufficient intent. The umpire saw it another way.
Just noticed, Jamo, as well, Rory Laird leading the Crows with 9 touches, 33 metres gained. Barely any impact with 7 handballs.
Yeah, it's all they're getting to him and closing him down very quickly.
Toss back in. Rock contest goes the way of the Power. Dersma gave it to Finlayson. Around the body, he's looking for Rioli. Miller got front position with the spoil, but went straight to Houston. Spun in the tackle again. It's heavy.
Oh.
He's stayed down. He's been dumped by Pedler. Not as bad as Broad last week, but certainly one that will be looked at. Houston stands back up slowly, then hands it off to Bonner. Heads to the top of the goal square. Dixon flies, can't claim it. Spills down to Butters, scoreboard pocket. Tight angle, and he really can't make it work. Caught the belly of the ball and out on the full. Free kick to the Crows. That was not a good tackle in the middle by Hinge.
Well, I think you've got to allow, I don't think it was a full-on sling. I think it's the momentum too. There was one the other night, the Western Bulldogs Brisbane game, I reckon. I can't think who did it, where just the momentum, the swing, as the moment from the player that is trying to get at the footy.
Murray sent it wide, but his kick was too wide by about a metre, so it'll be a free kick for Houston. Right half forward, about 70-80 from goal. Houston inside the field of play now. Umpire calls play on. Drives it about 30 from goal, looking for Dixon. Reaches up, Butts got the second touch away, fortunately, for Adelaide. And then Pedler put his head down, and the umpire said, "Give it to me." Well, I don't work that out. If he did put his head down and he was taken high by Dixon, it should have been a free kick. But if he ducked, it should have been a free kick anyway.
Approaching time on, Port lead by 16 and inside 50. Dixon wins it down, went straight through the legs of Marshall. Rochelle overran it as well. Wines gathered and gave it straight to Laird. And now the Crows can clear. He heads out to the eastern side. Walker leading out, couldn't claim it, but has the chop of the arms against Finlayson, so received a free kick. Power fans not happy. They've got the worst differential in free kicks against them this campaign. Walker popped it short and then was taken down by Finlayson after the fact. So Laird will be marched 50 metres up towards the arc. The reigning Malcolm Blight medalist at centre half forward spots a target, right forward pocket in, heads towards Thilthorpe leading out, who claims it 25 out. Only really a slight angle to the right now.
Oh, we saw in round one, didn't we, Josh, where Charlie Dixon gave away 2 50s and Brisbane ended up kicking a goal, and just Finlayson too, just smarter. I mean, you want to make an impact, but after disposal, 50 metres, and then here you are, Riley Thilthorpe having a shot on goal.
Well, it probably goes back to what we were speaking about pre-game, the differential in free kick count.
Thilthorpe comes in looking for his second. Beautiful finish, never in doubt. He's got 3 for the night, I should say. We've been waiting, or Crows fans have been waiting, for the coming of age of Riley Thilthorpe, and maybe a showdown 53 is the night. Adelaide trail by 10 now. 9-1-55 to 7-3-45 as we approach time on. We're still with 8 minutes to play in the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, and going back to that differential in free kick count, minus 13 against Brisbane, minus 19 against Collingwood. And I guess we spoke a little bit about their desire and their want to get at the opposition. In that example there with Finlayson, that was just silly. That was just silly. It's hard enough scoring, let alone giving the opposition easy entries inside 50 and shots on goal.
Ken thought it was selfish in that round one. I'm sure he's probably going to have a similar theme going in just before half-time. Still 8 minutes to go this second quarter. 8 tackles to Port Adelaide in this quarter, 2 to Adelaide. So the pressure from Port at a premium.
O'Brien with the tap, there was no contest, and then he followed up, and Horne-Francis was taken head on, literally in the head. So he takes the short kick there to Rioli from the free kick, and then off to Farrell with a hand pass. Long, booming kick. Adelaide get the ball to ground away from Dixon. Picked up by Scholl. Went one way, then another. Managed to hold the ball pretty well, and then looked for Rankin. Farrell took it away from him. Jonas picked it up. Hand pass for Farrell. Rankin got him just. Then Horne-Francis shrugs. Laird's tackle. Goes back centrally towards centre half forward to Dersma. Hands it off to Burne-Jones. Burne-Jones out the other side. The scoreboard side, he goes with a kick. Coming through as Jones couldn't take it. And O'Brien looked at his teammate there in Hinge, and both of them let the ball roll over the line in the scoreboard pocket. Quickly down to the boundary, Jack Burketta.
Dan Houston has come to the bench. The doctors were looking at the replay of that heavy tackle by Luke Pedler on him, but have given him the all clear, and he doesn't have to go through the concussion protocol.
Port Adelaide, 9 of the last 10 clearances.
Toss back in, Dixon wins it down, coming through Duday, couldn't control it, on hands and knees, Laird paddles it out to Saligo, gets away from the Dersma tackle and then kicks for territory, bouncing in front of Thilthorpe, who's happy to let it roll over. Port fans won't get their way. It'll be a boundary throw in centre wing. I know Jack mentioned it in the build-up, but the hill is packed and everyone is on their feet. Magnificent scene at the Adelaide Oval.
It's like an old one-day, a 50-50, isn't it, of the cricket?
Ball comes back into play. O'Brien opposed to Lycett again. Lycett the better, but it comes down the front of the contest. Laird first to react. Picks it up. Drives it along to half forward. Gallant leads out. Alier got a hand in there. Knocked it over. And it'll be over the boundary line for a throw-in. Gee, it would be a hot time in the town tonight. Of course, daylight saving ends tonight. You've got an extra hour of sleep. So whoever wins this match will be celebrating long and hard, you'd think, or the supporters will.
Toss back in, Lycett front position, but O'Brien won it down from behind, got it straight to Rankin, threw it on the boot inside 50, bounce worked perfectly to Thilthorpe, who gives it off to Pedler and tumbles it through for his second. Great set play there from the Crows, and again Riley Thilthorpe with an impact. Adelaide now trailed by 4 points as that margin gets closer in Showdown 53, the Power 9-1-55. Adelaide 8-3, 51, 22 played in the second. Your experts, Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco.
Well, once again, we're talking about that number 22 for Adelaide Footy Club. Isaac Rankin was given a little bit of latitude at that boundary throw-in, and that's all that bloke needs. He's a star. Just a beautiful hit down to him, creating that forward entry, and that, again, that shot on goal.
Really seen Riley Thilthorpe step up tonight too, 3 goals, but what I've liked is just how clean he is and just how quick that handball was then, and just makes you all class when that actually happens. It's so hard for the opposition. Adelaide fumbled a little bit in that first quarter and were caught out in the middle of the ground.
Bounce favours Lycett, knocks it forward. Out of the middle, still to come out. Laird picked it up. Was he taken high? No, umpire said, give it to me. Horne-Francis got him. So we'll get a ball up again. Neither ruckman got a good tap. Rosie got a good handle on it though. Took it away from the contest. Down to half forward. Hinge knocks it to the front for Adelaide. Coming through was Smith. Now he's in trouble. Got a quick kick out. Rosie's going to intercept Market right half forward. Port Adelaide will go back inside 50 through Connor Rosie.
Call to play on. Up towards the scoreboard pocket. O'Brien comes across in front of the pack, and at his best, Riley O'Brien is a strong intercept marker, and he's starting to find that form again. 7th for contested marks heading into this round. He's just clunked another. Called to play on. He'll head out to the left half back. Poor kick in the hole. Rosie came across and then caught one high. So last year's Showdown medalist receives the free kick, looks inside, hits up Alier, attacking edge of the square on the eastern wing. 50 looks a little flooded at the moment, so he'll go long. About 30 out, it'll drop. Marshall somehow gets front position. Thilthorpe was on him and claims the mark. 35 outside angle to the right.
I don't think he laced it either too.
Well, I was just about to say that kick, it's almost that three-quarter kick, isn't it? Almost just laying it in front of the key forwards, allowing them to get a bit of a run and jump at it. Instead of that sort of long bomb top of the goal square, it's almost a three-quarter kick. Almost a set play for Port Adelaide there.
Lowering the eyes works best for the Power. Todd Marshall starts outside the 50. Yet to get on the scoreboard tonight. Kicks from 40. He's just missed to the right-hand side. It was tight. Wrong side of the goalpost, and a minor score for the Power, who lead by 5. 9-2-56 plays 8-3-51. Still 5 minutes to play in the second term on Grandstand AFL. Meanwhile, over at the MCG, it is half-time there. And at the moment, St Kilda lead by 18 points.
From fullback, Smith with a kick in, and in the marking contest, free kick to Gallant. I'll say too, that was the first score for the Power in 14 minutes of game time. So a little bit of a drought in this match. They have been accurate overall though. Gallant down the line with his kick. Ball comes straight off the pack. Numbers down the front. Horn Francis chief among them. He's dived on the ball. Umpire's going to pinch him. Yes, he said you dragged it in. Riley O'Brien was right on his back.
These two are having a fair bit to say to each other, aren't they?
It was Rory Laird right on his back. And yeah, you're right, Jim. I was distracted by Laird because he got up going, yap. Inside half forward with his kick wasn't fantastic. Jonas spilt what he should have taken. Houston has it. No, he doesn't. It's trapped under bodies. And we'll get a ball up right half forward for Adelaide, just inside, attacking 50, closing in on half-time on Grandstand AFL. 26 minutes down, Port by 5 points.
Sam Pepper, Travis Boak haven't had a touch in this second quarter.
O'Brien slaps it out to Laird, around the body, a rolling ball straight to Riley Bonner. He lost control of it. Sloan now diving in. He's got 3 to beat and can't get it out cleanly. Butters takes it away and gives it to Boak. Bangs it on the boot, up the western wing, and the bounce will work. Outnumbered was Finlayson and beats 2. Hinge and Duday arches the back, but he's a run down. Gets booked to ball at the last moment, but Duday can gather. Great chase from Hinge, who was originally beaten. And the Crows will switch across the defensive 50 to Saligo.
Great effort.
Saligo on the eastern side, sends it down the line to a 2-on run. Rosie will receive the mark. It was called a mark. Took it over Pedler. So Rosie holds things up at right half forward on the eastern side of the Adelaide Oval.
Adelaide have got back. Todd Marshall's the only tool. He's gone. Riley O'Brien.
Another three-quarter kick, but O'Brien was standing there strong, took the mark. Then the ruckman kicks across goals, and it worked. Yes, you heard that. It worked, the ruckman kicking across goals. He went to Hinge, and now inside they've got Brodie Smith. Brodie Smith didn't like what he saw down the line, so he went back into his defensive area to find Duday, and they've switched it to the eastern side to Saligo.
Kick was a little wide, but just stayed in the field of play. Saligo looks inside to Murray. Bit of pressure here from the Power, but the Crows have found a way through. Sloan now marks, turns inside and hits Millerer in the centre circle again, steps off his line, in a bit of trouble from Powell Pepper, but gave it off. Smith to O'Brien, now Rochelle from 50, the kid heads for home and finishes! Adelaide strike through young Josh Rochelle, and they hit the front for the first time since the 16-minute mark of the opening term, or the 27-minute mark of the opening term, I should say. Rochelle's on the board, and the Crows are up by 2. 9-3-57 plays 9-2-56. They're up by 1.
Well, I reckon there's 2 bits of vision that Matthew Nicks will have lined up for the video review this week. The chase down tackle from Hinge and that bit of play from Adelaide in terms of their ball movement, their ability to turn and assess and change lanes and change angles to find that spare player. And even though it was all kick mark, the ball moved quickly up the length of the ground, and then that quick handball received to get speed on the ball, shot on goal. That was a superb bit of play from Adelaide Footy Club.
And what I like is they actually players are trying to take it, and they're hitting it, and they're hitting it first too, as opposed to if you don't hit it first, you miss your target, you're in a lot of strife, or if you don't take the kick, you get manned up on really quickly.
Showdown 53. Sloan had the ball loose, hand passed it and gave it away because Port Adelaide had the numbers. It's tapped forward. It's found Dersma. He goes long into the forward pocket. Michael Annie just watches the ball sail over the line and out on the full.
Sam Pepper really smart. Didn't take it. He could have and would have got a tackle. Just tapped it on to the advantage.
Michaelani from the scoreboard pocket plays on, sends it out long. O'Brien, he's been a powerhouse in the air and takes another good snatch.
Gave it off to Smith. Now down the eastern wing go the Crows, outnumbered. Gallant did well to bring it to ground, but gave away a free kick for a hold in the process against Jonas. So the Power to receive it behind centre wing.
1.5 minutes, second quarter to go. Crucial goal. Will score either way for both sides.
Jonas bangs it up to right half forward. Lysett shoved out of the contest by O'Brien. Whistle stays away. O'Brien becomes the tackler on Lysett and holds things up at right half forward for the Power. Trailing by 1 at the moment. What a great game we've had on Grandstand AFL. Both clubs desperate to avoid a loss. Adelaide would be 0-3. Port would be 1-2. They both need this. Free kick in the ball up. A hold going against O'Brien to Lysett, who gives it off. Kick inside 50 for the Power. Hits Dixon. Beautiful from Rosie. Hit up Big Charlie in front. 30 out, straight in front. A chance to kick his third.
Nick Murray a little enthusiastic, wasn't he, too? He did all the work. He was side by side, tried to get in front, then misjudged the mark by plenty.
Yeah, and again, I reckon it was that little three-quarter kick rather than the long bomb inside their forward 50 from Rosie. Beautifully weighted touch.
Contract year for Charlie Dixon, but it feels like he's got one more left in him for sure. Kicks from 45. Just misses on the left-hand side. I mozzed him. Up by 2. Scores level, I should say. 9-3, 57 apiece. Showdown 53 on Grandstand AFL. 31 minutes played in the second term on Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco, your experts.
Smith brings the ball back in quickly, comes out to this broadcast side. There was a push or an arm grab on Thilthorpe, and he's going to receive a free kick. Jonas, the offender. So Thilthorpe can't be long left in the half.
5 seconds.
Down the line he goes, and high. Houston comes, tries to knock it away. Aaliyah eventually got it, dished off a hand pass. So at half-time, both sides have had momentum at various stages, but what a contest we've seen overall. It's locked away at half-time. Port Adelaide 9-3, 57. Adelaide 9-3, 57.
Goal scorers at the major break for the Power. 2 to Powell-Pepper and Dixon. Singles to Dersma, Butters, Rioli, Rosie and Jones. That's Lockie. And for the Crows, 3 to Thilthorpe and a couple of score involvements as well. 2 to Pedler and Rankin. And singles to Rochelle and Dawson. Hard to call this one at the moment. The Power led by 6 at the first break. And as Crossy just mentioned, scores level at half-time at 9-3, 57 apiece. Over the border at the MCG, the Saints lead the Bombers by 18 at half-time. 7-5, 47 to 2-5, 29. If you do want to hear that, jump on the ABC Listen app and hit the AFL button. Otherwise, stay with us here for what's going to be a grandstand finish, I imagine, in Showdown at 53. Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco, two men who know a lot about showdowns. Only one of them has won a Showdown medal, though, unfortunately. Sorry, Jamo. But
yes.
Tell us through what you've learnt in this opening half.
And a lot more Brownlow votes too, by the way. Well, we spoke about pre-game about the clearance work on the stoppage area, and that's where Port Adelaide are clearly on top at the moment too. Hit-outs in favour of Adelaide. Clearances 27 to 16. Stoppage clearances 16 to 11. So the advantage that Port Adelaide are gaining in that area, that's really hurting Adelaide too. But Josh highlighted, we spoke about it in the first quarter. There was a passage play through the middle of the ground where Adelaide really were methodical, kept possession, chipped away, got through Port Adelaide, scored, and they did that again. So they've got the ability to do it. Just that area where they need to pull it back a little bit in their favour or just square it off a little bit more than what they are, because all of a sudden you're chasing a tail. And in that second quarter, I think just the tackling, the pressure wasn't there from Adelaide. 11 tackles to 5 in favour of Port Adelaide 2. So not only were they second to the football in the middle of the ground, where obviously you just cannot afford to continue to just give up that to the opposition, but when they did get a hold of the footy there, it's just a lot of effort and work to actually get it back and then sit down and then go again. So I thought Adelaide at times in that second quarter were okay. Port Adelaide clearly on top in that area, and it's one particular they need to shut it down.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamo. And I think also highlighting the importance of winning the clearance in the modern game, because there's so much emphasis placed on forward half possessions and front half turnovers, and time in forward half as a massive indicator. If you can win that clearance and be harder and cleaner and win that contested ball in the scramble, get it going forward, then you can get set up behind the ball, lock it in your forward half, create pressure and create shots on goal. But I guess when you look at the scoreline, what are we, 57 apiece? You wouldn't expect anything different from a showdown, would you?
Yeah.
Again, regardless of form coming into the game.
And you look at contested possession, 64-62 in favour of Adelaide, uncontested 90-76. Port Adelaide do sort of switch, but Adelaide have probably done it a little bit more tonight just to slow the game down. So both sides do it a little bit. So a lot of the stats are very much in favour. Free kick 16-12 in favour of Port. So that would be a positive after the last 2 weeks too. So both sides I think would go in and go, oh, look, we struggled in these areas, but I think we probably have done well in different parts of the game. Spoke about clearances on through both quarters, but here we are at level scores. I think everyone's got through unscathed at the moment too. You've got Orazio Fantasia sitting on the bench ready to come in, as you've got Jones for Adelaide to do the same too, and a number of the key players really haven't had too much of the football. Taylor Walker, Jack spoke about maybe a small groin problem. He's just playing a role. He's only had the 2 disposals. Cleary in the other half, he's in the back half, has had 1. Todd Marshall probably need to go to him a little bit more than what they do with Charlie Dixon.
Yeah, and looking at some of Port Adelaide's normal high possession winners, Travis spoke, just the 4 disposals for half time. Now, we don't have numbers to see how much split he's had on ball compared to the wing, but they've got to somehow try to generate some more output from Travis in this second half, because he's just not influencing the game enough. And we talked about Junior Rioli, sort of in patches. He's only had the 3 disposals, has looked threatening at times, but just not enough influence either.
It's tough with the power at the moment, because Rosie on 15, on Francis on 10, and Zach Butters and Ollie Wines, 9 and 7 apiece. There's a lot of players that can play in the midfield, and you want to incorporate Travis Boak, but again, you also want to prioritise, I guess, the speed of these new players that have been injected into this list.
Well, I think the spread's good too. You don't want to rely on, I think, you got Rosie, Horn Francis, Pelpepper, Wines, Houston more back than he is, Farrell back more than he is, Drew in the middle with a run, with Butters is quiet, and then you got Boak that you touched on. So there's still some quality there. I really like Rosie's game once again. Horn Francis has sort of been a little bit more measured and a bit more grunt work. He's had it 10 times and only gone metres gained 83. So he's the in and under player tonight, where we've spoken about Connor Rosie and just how quality he is. He just slows the game down.
The voices of Adelaide Premiership player Rod Jamieson, 3-time Showdown medalist Josh Franco on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us for Showdown 53. And at the MCG halftime, St Kilda and Essendon, the Saints 47 to the Bombers 29. Here it is scores level at the major break, 9-3-57. The text line, if you do want to get in touch, ask a question to the boys, or even just let us know how you're feeling if you're out there at the moment in the sellout crowd. 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Plenty of scores to run through as well around the country in a moment, including the Sandful scores from today, and a big result in the Sandful showdown as the curtain raiser. But for now, let's take the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with David Rowlands. ABC election analyst Anthony Green says it's increasingly difficult to see how the Liberals can retain the eastern Melbourne federal seat of Aston as Labor takes an early lead in the by-election vote count. Labor's Mary Doyle is leading the Liberals' Rashina Campbell by more than 3% on the latest ABC projections. If Labor wins, it will be the first time in a century that a government has won a seat off the opposition in a by-election. Green says it's still too close to call, but the current numbers don't look good for the Liberals.
At this stage, these figures are starting to look grim. If that trend continues, we still have all those pre-polls and postals to come, but the polling places are settling into a pattern of a swing which would be big enough to cost the Liberal Party Aston.
The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, says it's an outstanding result for New South Wales Labor to have a workable majority. Labor has been unable to form majority government in the state. The ABC has called 2 of the 3 remaining seats in doubt for the Liberal Party, Terrigal and Holsworthy. Mr Albanese says Premier Chris Minns will be a great leader for New South Wales.
It's an outstanding result for Chris Minns to be able to form a government in New South Wales, and he clearly will have a workable majority. There are people on the crossbenches who've signed up to confidence and supply very early on.
Taiwan says Chinese military aircraft have again crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait, separating it from China. The Defence Ministry says 9 military jets and a drone traversed the line, a similar number to the day before. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, while Taiwan asserts its independence. Russia will assume the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council after Ukraine failed to get the move blocked. More from the BBC's Nicholas Rocha.
Russia's turn to head the UN Security Council may only last 30 days, but it is raising eyebrows only a couple of weeks after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for its president, Vladimir Putin. However, nothing can be done about it. The United States has already said it has no power to do so. Moscow's ambassador to the UN told the TASS news agency he planned to oversee several debates, including one on arms control. He said he would hold a strategic discussion about the contours of a new world order that, he said, was coming to replace the unipolar one.
The head of Iran's judiciary is threatening to prosecute without mercy women who appear in public unveiled. It comes as an increasing number of Iranian women defy the compulsory dress code. Iranian media are reporting the judiciary chief as saying officers are obliged to enforce any kind of public abnormality against the religious law. The South Australian government says taxpayers will not be paying a cent of a $94 million potential penalty to break a rail privatisation contract. The $2.14 billion agreement was struck between the previous Liberal government and Keolis Downer. However, the government today declared its intention to push ahead with plans to scrap it, saying the economics of the deal did not stack up. The man accused of abducting two boys from their home north of Perth early yesterday morning has not applied for bail. Ashley Davis has more.
34-year-old Jonathan Richard Anthony appeared in person at Perth Magistrates Court this morning, where he failed to acknowledge the charges against him. He faces 7 charges relating to the abduction of 2 boys from their home in Moora, a small town 2 hours north of Perth. Police allege Mr Anthony entered the home via the front door and carried out an 8-year-old boy before coming back to the house to take his 12-year-old brother. The older brother managed to fight his way free and alert an adult who called the police. A search of the area led to the 8-year-old boy being found at a nearby home. Mr Anthony was remanded in custody until his next appearance.
To sport, and Alistair Clarkson's perfect start at North Melbourne has come to an end in the AFL. It came at the hands of his former club, Hawthorn. The Hawks rebounded from 2 heavy defeats to start their campaign by outplaying North 11-14-80 to 9-7-61 in Launceston. It was the first time that Clarkson coached against Hawthorn, where he won 4 premierships in 17 years. In Saturday afternoon's other match, Carlton continued their unbeaten start to the season with a 9-20-74 to 9-10-64 defeat of Greater Western Sydney at Giants Stadium. And the New South Wales Swifts have recorded a come-from-behind 3-goal victory over the Queensland Firebirds at Ken Rosewall Arena in Sydney in the Super Netball. Trailing by 3 goals at the major break, they went on to win 74-71.
ABC Listen. Rampaging Royce Laven and HG Nelson.
I note that some people don't use logbooks anymore.
What?
Yeah.
They don't know cos, sine,
cosine, cosine, cotan. They're all great.
Lodging on the blind side.
Why don't they do it?
I don't know.
Royal Commission. What happened to the logbook? I loved it. I used to open it up. Could we get Volandis to drag the logbook
kicking and screaming back into our universities?
Podcast available now on the ABC Listen app. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
He'll use Rosie again. Heads inside 50 for the power. Lockie Jones and Todd Marshall battling for position. They held off the defenders, so Butters could race through at the back and kick the opener of the second term.
Finally, it comes to Sloan by the hand pass, and then he goes inside forward 50, and the big arms of Thilthorpe up and takes the mark. Thilthorpe in and straight. And he's happy, he has his second.
Toss back in 30 out from Port's goal. O'Brien should have claimed it but lost it. Miller was there for the assist anyway. His handball wasn't clean to Berry. Port intercept. Rosie can gather and snap from 15 on the tight angle. Thilthorpe comes in. Beautiful finish. Never in doubt. He's got 3 for the night. Toss back in, Lycett front position, but O'Brien won it down from behind, got it straight to Rankin, threw it on the boot inside 50, bounce worked perfectly to Thilthorpe, who gives it off to Pedler and tumbles it through for his second. Miller up in the centre circle again, steps off his line, in a bit of trouble from Powell Pepper, but gave it off. Smith to O'Brien, now Rochelle from 50, the kid heads for home and finishes.
the 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
A showdown that's had a little bit of everything. Highlights from both sides, momentum swings, high scoring. It just sets us up for a magnificent grandstand finish on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and the Listen app across the country, across the globe. The AFL button available too if you do want to hear St Kilda and Essendon at the MCG. Third term is underway there, and it is the Saints by 18 points at the moment, 7-5-47 to 4-5-29. Goal scorers there, Jack Higgins with 3, singles 2, Wood, Stringer, Shield, Perkins, Owens, Menzies, Caminiti and Butler. Leading possession getters in that game as well. Parrish has 21, Wood with 19 and Jake Kelly with 18. Here scores a level. 9-3-57 apiece after the Power led by 6 at quarter time. The highest margin of the game has been 17 points to the Power, but it certainly felt like goals are coming in doubles from both sides, and Riley Philthorpe has 3 of them. Charlie Dixon and Sam Palpepper with 2 as well for the Power. So there's plenty to play out here at the Adelaide Oval. Earlier today in the curtain raiser, the Sandful Showdown as part of round 1 of the 2023 season saw the Crows get up with a massive win, 78 points over Port Adelaide in the end. It was a monstrous result for the Crows. We'll be hoping they can mirror something that similar to that in the main event. Tariq Newchurch had 4. Harry Schomburg with 3 alongside Himmelberg as well. Meanwhile, for the Power, their young key tools, Ollie Lord, Tom Scully, each had 1. So did Mitch Georgiadis, who was omitted from the Power's side tonight. In the Formula 1 in Melbourne, qualifying has been completed. Max Verstappen, no surprise, is in pole position heading into tomorrow's race. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton from Mercedes at the 2 and the 3. Ferrari behind them, although Fernando Alonso was in 4. Carlos Sainz in 5. Lance Stroll in 6th position as well. In terms of Australians, Oscar Piastri didn't make it past the first session of qualifying. He finished P16. Sergio Perez crashed out in the opening 10 minutes and didn't set a time, so he will start back of the grid. Alongside, I guess, our adopted Aussie in Valtteri Bottas, who unfortunately finished P19. In the NRL, a couple of scores to update you there. The Sea Eagles and the Knights drew at 32 apiece. The Dragons defeated the Dolphins 38-12, and the Broncos currently lead the West Tigers 40-6 at the 59-minute mark. In the Super Netball, the Swifts defeated the Firebirds by 3 goals, 74-71, and the Thunderbirds had a big win over the Lightning, 66-42, and they needed it after last week's game was deemed a 25-goal or draw, which is going to hurt their percentage dramatically.
What a debacle.
Yeah,
Lights go out.
At the SA Netball Stadium. And in the A-League as well, we saw Melbourne Victory defeat Wellington Phoenix 2-1. The Central Coast Mariners defeated the Raw 4-1. And at the moment, Western United leads Sydney FC 2-1. We're about 5 minutes away from the second half in Showdown 53. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call. Your experts, Rod Jamison, Josh Franco.
I'd love to drive a Formula 1 car.
Would you, though? The speeds that they go at.
Would love it.
It's treacherous.
You'd love to drive it into a wall? Because that's
what you're going to do.
Well, that's what the road's for, Cross.
You can come over to my place, Jam. I've got a racing sim at my place, so that's as close as you can to it.
Yeah,
but
right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be tempted to get in an actual car.
Oh, I'd love to.
The speeds are incredible. Although very excited for tomorrow's race here in Australia. Awkward time, though. There is footy on at the same period. We'll have Ben Cameron there for updates into our coverage. So
I heard today that they were thinking, or there is some discussion around a night.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. They're doing a few of them now, obviously, as part of the calendar. So, yeah, wouldn't mind it. That way, footy gets clear air as well, which is always good. Second half, gents. Showdown 53. Obviously, it's all square at the moment, so it's hard to figure out how it's going to play out from here. The one question I did want to ask you was, if you're Ken Hinkley and Matthew Nicks and you look at this opening half, is this the brand of footy that you've been wanting to play in the opening rounds of the season, or is there still more to get out of these two teams?
I think from Matty Nicks' perspective, I think there's parts of the game that he would go, yep, I want to continue to see that, and it is improving. Highlighted certainly the passage of play that have ended in goals for both Adelaide. I think the clearance work is just a continual grind away, getting the experience into the players, have the leadership to be able to go, guys, just shut this down. Like, don't get sucked into the footy and allow that first possession or easy clearance or the secondary, possession to be able to just open it up and have someone off the back all the time. So I like Craig McRae's, I think, the other night. He actually said what is this team capable of? He just goes, I'll wake up tomorrow. It's a growth mindset.
Yep.
I don't want to sort of put a leveler or on the team.
Well, I think also too on Port Adelaide's side of the table and Ken Hinkley, I dare say he's just searching for that consistency. And I know it's only been a small sample size in terms of how many games they've played this season. It's only round 3, but Port Adelaide v Brisbane, they were electric in that second half. They came out and got absolutely dismantled by Collingwood. So he'd be searching for consistency. But it's interesting too when you look at half-time and you look through the statistics, and they're relatively even across the board. Obviously, the scoreline's dead level at 57 apiece. And you mentioned the clearance numbers. Interesting, just having a bit of analysis of that while we're at a break. The first possession, Adelaide are actually +7. So they're winning the hit-outs, so they're +7 in the hit-outs. They're +7 in first possession, which means they're getting their hands on the ball first. The tackle count for Port Adelaide is +13, and the clearance count for Port Adelaide, this is around the ground, is +5. So Adelaide are doing everything right in terms of hand off the ruckman to first possession to the mids, but then it's that pressure from Port Adelaide to be able to close and turn the footy over. So no doubt that would be an area that they would have addressed at half-time, and just talked a little bit about either absorbing the pressure and taking the tackle and causing a secondary stoppage rather than just releasing it and keeping the ball live, where Port Adelaide have been really good at capitalising on.
Should mention as well, I gave the score on the Sandful showdown. I didn't give you the other scores of the Sandful for round 1. So
do it.
The Eagles defeated the Redlegs by 46. The Roosters defeated West Adelaide by 16. South Adelaide had a win over Centrals by 26 points. Shout out to Dean Brogan. Great start to the campaign. And Sturt defeated Glenelg, Jamo, by 31 points.
Yeah, I heard.
What a great start for the Tigers.
Opening the new facility in the Jack Oatey stand. They've got modern facilities now at Unley Oval, and they celebrated by knocking off Glenelg. Believe me, they enjoyed it.
I bet they did, Coach Marty
I live very close, and I heard a lot.
Here at the Adelaide Oval, scores level as we head into the second half. 9-3, 57 apiece between the Power and the Crows.
And one question, Jamo, to you. With the new tactical sub as opposed to the medical sub, at what point do you start thinking about unleashing a Fantasia?
Well,
a Jones?
Yeah, I think Rioli's probably the one you're going to assess here.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm finding it more difficult to actually fit Chase Jones into Adelaide's side at the moment with where Adelaide are at.
Yep.
Scores locked away, 9-3 apiece at half-time in showdown number 53. What's going to unfold in the second half? Stay with us on Grandstand AFL. Port Adelaide get the first break. Drew just soccers the ball inside forward 50. Rioli picks it up, slips a hand pass out. Taken to ground was Horn Francis by Saligo. Umpire called play on. Ball on the ground, held in by Marshall in combination there with a couple of Adelaide players. Murray last one up. And we'll get a ball up just 20 metres out, straight in front of the Port Adelaide goal.
O'Brien against Dixon. Dixon takes it out of the ruck, fends off Laird, but is brought down on the second tackle by Max Michaelani. Ripping effort from the youngster to silence the crowd as well. Crows free kick in defensive 50. He looks to the western side to Butts, and then down the wing, hits up Keys, right half back at the moment, and now to Saligo on the 45. Good ball movement here from the Crows. 9-3, apiece. Inside to Dawson. He's been lively early as well. Plenty of footy.
Definitely more method here with Adelaide.
Yeah.
Saligo.
Honouring the short one.
To Murphy. Not sure really what to do with it at the moment as Port set up behind the ball. So Murphy will bang it long to a pack. Front position. Trying to get free as Dawson couldn't bring it down. Spills front and square to Wines. Handball out to Houston, and Port are racing away.
Through the hands they go. Find Drew in the middle of the play. Slipped it back to Bonner, who'd given it to him. Awkward kick down to half forward. Favours Michael, and he's wiped out. Surely he didn't have the ball then. Shirt fronted, he stayed down. Adelaide take the ball. Away off half back comes Scholl.
Great
Drops
effort,
it to Walker on centre wing.
Great effort.
He's still down Michael Lanning at the point of the centre square and the right back flank.
Gee, you could see that unfolding about 5 seconds before it happened. Great courage.
WrestleMania weekend crossing. That was a good old spear in midair, I reckon, from Horn Francis.
And he was open too, Max Michaelani. He was up, 2 hands on the football, and Todd Marshall just put the shoulder straight in.
Out on the eastern side, Scholl heads to the scoreboard pocket. Alear back with the flight, stuck a hand out. There's a nudge and a free kick going Adelaide's way. Pedlar's claiming it. He was pushed out of it, enabled Alear to come across. Dan Houston, the offender. And he'll get a free kick. 45 out from goal. Slight angle to the right, looking for his second. He's third. Gemma, what are you doing to me?
I'm just trying to let you know he's got
in the
two.
book. I was ready. You've thrown me.
Cohesion.
Luke Pedler.
Good player, this bloke.
20-year-old, pick 11 from 55. It's flat, it's hard, it's long, it's true. Pedler's got 3. Crows hit the front to start the third. 10-3-63. Port Adelaide 9-3-57. 3 minutes in on Grandstand AFL.
And I know he's hit the scoreboard. He's kicked 3 goals this evening, but I really like Pedler's attack on the footy. He does give the Adelaide Footy Club a lot of grunt around that ball.
Yeah, I think he and Sam Berry are really similar. Sam's probably a little bit more solid and he tackles a lot harder. I was having a look at that earlier tonight. I think he had 6 or 7 tackles for tonight to date too, like just a grunt. So if he can get the balance of defending really well and starting to win more of the football, whereas I think you're right, Luke Pedler's got that ability also.
Just quickly across here as well, Adam Jones has let us know from the host broadcaster, Ken Hinkley spoke to television and said Charlie Dixon copped a whack in his back. He's feeling some pain down his legs, so he may be the one they substitute out. They're not going to take a risk on him. We'll head down to Jack Paqueta for an update in a moment.
Back in the middle, Adelaide with a chain of hand passes, ends with Rochelle inside forward, 50. Chance for Taylor Walker out in front of his eyes, couldn't take it. And picking the ball up and being slung to ground in Murphy's tackle was Bonner. And we'll get a ball up inside forward 50, Jack Paqueta.
Max Michaeloni has come to the bench after that heavy hit from Todd Marshall. He tried to wave the doctors away, but they just sat him down, let him have a breather for a couple of minutes.
So the ball's still in Adelaide's forward line out of the ruck contest. Pedler bursts, forced to release a hand pass on the ground again. Picked up by Dawson, he released a hand pass as well. Port Adelaide tackling hard, forced the turnover. It's gone to Rosie, he was taken down, slipped the hand pass away, umpire said. That's holding the man.
I think you like seeing that. Rochelle and Rosie going at each other. Now Lysett, Pedler. Pedler likes a scrap.
It's on. But then again, we expected it.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Tough in the clinches.
So Dixon's out there at the moment, but Fantasia is warming up in front of us. Meanwhile, Port moved the ball through the eastern side. Houston gave it off to Bonner. Kicks up to left half forward. Lockie Jones entangled with Hinge. Couldn't control it. And Sport over the boundary line to be tossed back into play. Adelaide 10-3-63. The Power 9-3-57. 5 minutes into the third. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rye Jamison, Josh Franco with you for the call at the MCG. It's the Saints by 13. 7 to play in the third.
Lockie Jones has been a little bit quiet tonight. Mitch Hinds played well.
Beautiful tap. O'Brien put it in the path of Murphy charging through, but his kick was poor. Rolled straight to the Power defenders. Now Dersma gives it off to Rosie. Ran out of room, just had to pop it over the top. It worked to Lysett. He gave it to Farrell, who fumbled. Became the tackler on Laird and turned it straight back over. Dersma for the Power. To Wines. Hands it off towards Drew. Now into the left forward pocket. He hits Marshall. Diving forward. Pulls it in close to the turf. Tight angle, 15 out. Todd Marshall will have a chance to kick his first.
Again, you touch on it, Josh. Like we sit up here and we go, look, it looks a little bit easy and you get a little frustrated, but Adelaide had possession on 4 occasions, gave it up. Port Adelaide get it, and just that kick forward, and here we are having a shot on goal.
They'll have to open the angle and kick around the body. Fans wait to see if their hero can get the job done. Todd Marshall on the board and levels the score once again. 10-3, 63 apiece. 6.5 played in the third on Grandstand AFL.
And I must admit, it never ceases to amaze me, that kick around the body, how well these players these days execute it. You wind the clock back 10 years, it was unheard of. And I reckon if you had to kick one of those 10 years ago, the coach probably would have dragged you and sat in the pine for a few minutes. But as I said, just the ability of these players to execute skills a la the snap around the body, just a superb finish there from Marshall.
You'd be lucky to have a go if you're on the boundary with that sort of kick, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're centering it, putting it at the top of the square, let alone most players now do it 30 straight out in front.
Yep.
So Adelaide, what have they got now? Port Adelaide responded. Adelaide with the first jab of this third term, and Port Adelaide have hit back. 10-3, 63 apiece. In the middle, Lysett just tapped it out in the end off the ground towards Boak, who sent it forward. At centre half forward, it's picked up there by Berry for Adelaide, taken in a tackle. Umpire circling, he's going to pinch him. Somehow in there he was said to have had an opportunity to dispose of the ball. The tackler was Pal Pepper, and he looks around him and thinks, not bad, 55, I'd have to kick this. I reckon I can do it. No, he doesn't. He goes to Houston. He can kick a monster, and he's done so, and he hasn't made the distance. O'Brien, well, maybe he spilled it, maybe he knocked it through, but it's a minor score for Port Adelaide. They slip back into the lead by just the 1 point. Miller ready to bring the ball back into play, heads out onto the eastern side.
Long kick as well. Heads up towards centre wing. Jonas with the double fist smashes it towards the boundary line.
And just looking at that last shot on goal from Port Adelaide, if you're a Crows forward, you've got to be on high alert for Farrell, for Bonner,
Houston.
Houston, those types of players, because they're always going to give that handball receive and have a long shot on goal. And just looking after the kick, Tex Walker was giving Lockie Murphy a bit of a serve.
Port by 1, third term. Lysett pushed out of it. Both hands in the back by O'Brien in the ruck contest. No free kick. Laird head over the footy, wrapped up in the tackle by Dersma there. Lost control of it. Farrell now, he's brought down. Hard footy. Laird rips it out, hands it off towards O'Brien. Spilt it on hands and knees. Butters becomes the tackler as he holds up Scholl. And finally we'll get a ball up in the chaos. Umpires tonight, Chris Donlan, Daniel Johansson, Curtis DeBoy and Nathan Toner. Tossed up. Lysett won it down straight to Dawson though. Clearing kick. Went up towards right half forward, just inside the centre square. Houston knocked it out to Rosie. Sold Jonas into a bit of trouble. Caught up in the tackle and spun to ground. We'll get another ball up forward of the logo centre wing. A little bit in it as well between Jonas and also Galan, who's been a little quiet tonight.
Tommy Jonas could go through like Mickey Gaffer. Like, he hasn't had a touch yet.
Off the ruck contest, Adelaide with a couple of tackles. Dawson ended up with the ball, slipped a hand pass just in time to Laird. Tumbled a kick inside forward 50. Ball comes to ground. Gallant was there, so was Berry. Went to palm off, lost the ball. In came Pal Pepper. Wow. Snatched it away. Good hand pass, found Butters down to centre wing. Down to Boak, who played on immediately. Now they've got it to Pal Pepper from Houston into half forward with his kick. Lines with the mark just outside 50. Don't think he's got the distance. Backs up, looking, peering, inside 50.
Good second, third effort from Pal Pepper.
Oh, wasn't he amazing?
Yeah.
Drops it in short, and leading up and taking a chest mark was Dixon. Adelaide had no one in the hole, and somehow Butts was left behind, and he remonstrates with a couple, I think, of his teammates saying, where were you in the hole?
Mitch Hinge was saying exactly that, Crossy. Get down, support, press hard.
Having said that, standing in the hole with Dixon bearing down on you, I'd say my hamstring
Can
hurt.
anyone come down and help me out, please? You go, Aaron.
Yeah. Big boy Charlie Dixon. Has he got his kicking boots on? He does. And he flexes the muscles after putting it through for a goal. Power slip clear. 11-4-70 plays Adelaide. 10-3-63. 10 minutes down in the third term on Grandstand AFL. Your experts Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco.
Yeah, and I dare say the Crows defender there would be really disappointed that as we just spoke about, that his midfielders didn't come back and fill in that space in the hole. But once again, that kick outside 50, it's not the long bomb. There's a little bit of method to it. It's that three-quarter kick and allowing their big forwards to run on with a little bit of space rather than contesting aerially when the ball comes in long and high.
It's an elite competition, so you need to be clean. You're going to have good days. The pressure from the opposition, but Adelaide get it forward in that passage of play. But then Pal Pepper just put his head down and he went straight at the footy and he was clean and took it way through. Then Port Adelaide were out and away, and then he's followed it up and he was the player that then dropped it inside 50.
Voices of Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco. Showdown 53 on Grandstand AFL. Finlayson won it down. He was looking for Horn Francis, who became the tackler on Keys. Almost had his head driven into the turf by Drew, who came in to assist. Quick ball up. Finlayson again wins it down. Errant slap that trickled towards Rankin. In a bit of trouble, so he kicks around the body, rushed towards the 50. Walker had Cleary all over him, brought it down. Front square, Rosie's wrapped up. Ball up to come on the paint of the attacking 50 for the Crows. They're kicking to the northern end. Sellout crowd, predominantly Power fans here tonight. Tossed up, Finlayson again down. Keys tries to soccer off the deck. He's got 4 to beat. He's stuck inside a phone box. Comes out the power's way, but Horn Francis can't get it at his toes. Rochelle loses it as well. Picked up by Butters, who races away from Keys and now can transition.
Jonas with what became a bit of a helicopter kick. Got it out, Adelaide turned it over, Sloan forward, hand pass, found Saligo, tried to slip it wide, successfully to Michael Annie, over the top. It was Sloan off to Keys on the boundary, shoots with the left foot, and just inside the behind post for the minor score. So they cut the margin to an even goal.
Had Sam Berry 20 out too on his own. Maybe the high ball would have allowed the Port defence to get there, but shot on goal, almost out in the full.
13-minute mark of the third. It is the Power by 6 at the MCG. St Kilda up by 19 with 2 to play. Long ball out of defensive 50 from Dan Houston up to the defensive edge of the square off a couple of hands. Rankin over the footy had drawn his tail but did well. Gets it to Keys, then Duday, now Michael Annie on the logo. Leans back with a high kick. It floats up towards the top of the arc. Lear stayed down, gathered, got it off to Houston, caught in the tackle but got it to Jonas. Drew, his handball cut off by Keys. Gee, you could throw a blanket over it at the moment. Pulled out by Walker, spins around and kicks it in the path of Gallant, but too high for him. At the back, Saligo can gather it in, run down by Farrell. And a throw will go the way of the Power.
And 52, I think.
50, I'm not sure why the umpire signalled the wrong way here. I thought it may have actually been a Crows free kick, but he's actually pointing down the ground saying, take your 50. So Farrell will be marched to the centre square.
Rankin played on, tried to kick the goal.
Haven't seen a lot of ill discipline tonight, but a couple of 50-metre penalties.
Kane Farrell, just low to the ground. I love the style in which he plays. Left footer as well. Poor kick.
It was out. It was tapped on, though, by Burn Jones. Port Adelaide retained possession and go deep inside forward 50. Murray playing in front, knocked it away towards the boundary line. It was over. Dawson took it. Hand passed it back to Murray, but it was already over. So about 30 around from the goal face in the left forward pocket at the Riverbank stand end of the ground. Port Adelaide forced the throw in.
Toss back in. O'Brien gets a run at it. Dixon entangled with him. Won it down beautifully to Rioli. Hands it off to Bonner. Pops the handball over the top. Trying to get it to Butters. He ran into a wall. Now to Marshall. The Power just trying to get a shot away here. Rosie loses it. Adelaide swarm. And the ball will be held up. 40 out. They did very well, the back line there, to ensure Port Adelaide just couldn't get away, because it felt like that chain was leading to a scoring shot. Tossed up. Dixon again wins it down, this time straight to Rochelle. Clear and kick tumbles off to Rankin, who hands it wide to Scholl and then back to Hinge. They can settle a bit, the Crows. We'll pop it over the top to Rankin. Nice mark. Up against Farrell at right half back. Gives us some time to check in with Jack Paqueta downstairs.
Orazio Fantasia is set to come into the game for Port Adelaide. At this stage, it looks like Xavier Dersmer has been subbed out, but I'll just confirm that for you guys later.
So it was Rankin who was forced to go down the line eventually, and off hands. Salir was there, punched it over the line in the pack. And we're going to throw in out there on the eastern side, just ahead of centre wing for Adelaide. 6-point game in favour of Port Adelaide. Biggest margin in the game by my count was 17 for Port Adelaide, 10 minutes into the second term. Ball on the ground off the ruck contest. Miller trying to break away, eventually got a hand free. And umpire called play on, he got it back, gave it to Rochelle by hand. Inside forward 50, Gallant. Oh, he almost took it away from Alir, but Alir did well. Was it a free kick? Yes, it was. Umpire called play on, advantage. Saligo kicked the goal across the body. Adelaide draw back level. 11-4-70 apiece. It's a high-scoring game, and it is a shootout, and it is entertaining. And right now in Showdown 53, it is all square after 16 minutes of the third term on Grandstand AFL.
I've just sensed that Adelaide, when they do go forward, they're actually working really hard, aren't they, to actually score. Port Adelaide seem to do it a little bit easier at the moment. Port Adelaide, Jason Horne-Francis hasn't touched the football in this third quarter.
Well, interesting too, we talk about potentially Dersmer coming off as the sub for Fantasia to be injected into the game. I wonder if that's a medical sub, because he's only had 8 disposals, but he has kicked the goal and can run and can play.
Be a brave call too, if Charlie Dixon's done a hammy or he's close to and limping and he goes down.
Clean bounce in the middle. Lysett wins it down, looking for Horn Francis. Lost it a bit with the awkward bounce. Burne-Jones came to assist, and then Horn Francis ducks his head in, dropped the shoulder, caught in the tackle of Rochelle, and the whistle stays away. Since, if you ignore the start of the contest, this is the 6th time that scores have been level in Showdown 53. Tossed up. Lysett wins it down straight to Horn Francis. Barges away with the fend off on Murphy and then kicks out to the eastern side. He's put it in the path of Bergman. He's done well. Mark taken it left half back. Jack Paqueta downstairs.
Can't confirm it is Xavier Dersma that's been subbed out of this game. It doesn't look as though he's carrying an injury. There doesn't seem to be any concern about him, so it may be tactical.
Meanwhile, Bergman down the line long with his kick on the eastern side. Pal Pepper couldn't take it. Hinge with the punch over the boundary line. So we get the ball thrown in there. And it'll be Phil Thorpe to go against Lysett. Ball's short. Lysett comes to it. Just knocks it to the front. Horn Francis tries to get through. Fresh air with his kick. Picked up by Dawson. Taken to ground, but wasn't held in a tackle. Released it. Now it's come to Wines, and then Burne-Jones just scrubbed his kick. Dawson got it. Kicked it into the back of Phil Thorpe. Picked up. Wide it goes for Horn Francis again inside 50. Dixon couldn't take it. Ball on the ground. Standing up over was Smith. He makes a tackle on Pal Pepper. Umpire lets it go. Still bobbling around. Dixon tries to barge through. Kicks it out on the full, which was really hard to do because he was heading towards goal. And then as he turned around, he kicked it sideways out on the full. Adelaide will have it just outside defensive 50 at that Riverbank stand end of the ground.
Disposal 13 for Scholl, who had 27 last week on return to the side. Heads to a pack on the eastern wing. And off hands it'll carry over the boundary line. Jack Paqueta again downstairs on the boundary.
The Crows look set to pull the trigger on their sub. Chase Jones coming into the game. Sam Berry subbed out.
Sam Berry's a big one.
He must be carrying something too. He's only had the 5 disposals. Again, 9 tackles tonight.
Only averaging 11 touches per game heading into this contest as well. Lysett took it out of the ruck and smothered the kick. Spilled out to Scholl for the Crows. Piercing kick down the line. Hits up Gallant. Too far from home to score. Nearly true centre wing. Close to the boundary line. One of the 4 inclusions for the Crows tonight. Replacing essentially Darcy Fogarty, but hasn't hit the scoreboard. Heads towards the arc. Walker outnumbered. Spoil from Alir. Went straight towards Horn Francis. Gets a clearing kick for the Power. Up to Dixon. He's brought down but held by Butts. Free kick to the Power big man.
Dixon backs up just in the logo on centre wing on the eastern side.
Taylor Walker's been quiet, hasn't he, too? But Alir hasn't been overly damaging. He's worn him pretty close.
Great kick from Dixon. Pierces to Bergman at half forward. Swings around after taking the mark. Long and direct he goes. Somehow Smith took the ball away for Adelaide. Released a hand pass to Butts. And then Butts sends it outside defensive 50. Gallant was there. Contest. Came to Lysett. He hand passed it off. Adelaide make the tackle and force the ball up. Kane Farrell was the man who received the hand pass, and it was Gallant again who made the tackle. So he is having some involvement, Gallant, but not on the scoreboard.
Scores level, 11-4-70 apiece from the ruck contest. It comes out to Dixon, though. Gets away from Butts, who went to ground. Runs to 45, heads all the way, but can't finish. Minor score on the right-hand side to Big Charlie. Does give Port the lead. 11-5-71, plays 11-4-70. Time on in the third on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us. If you do want to get in touch, 0437 774 774.
Adelaide bringing the ball in, going short. Outside 50 now with Hinge, who received from McElhenney. And then short, it went to Millerer. So Millerer at half-back. Down the line high was his kick in the end, forced to do that. Or two grab mark, not quite completed by Dawson. Then he gets the ball bouncing up to him and he's taken down in a tackle. Right on the logo on centre wing, we'll get a ball up. Nothing in this well, there is something in this contest. It's 1 point in favour of Port Adelaide.
It was incredibly high scoring in the first half. We've only had the 4 goals so far this term. It sounds like a lot, but it isn't compared to what we were getting previously. So, bit of momentum. Just slowed down in this game at the moment. The last goal came at the 16-minute mark, went out the 21-minute mark. Jack Paqueta downstairs.
Chase Jones, the Crows sub, has just come into the game for Sam Berry. Now Jordan Butts has limped to the bench, favouring his right ankle, and there's some concern about it.
The danger of the tactical substitute. Thanks, Jack. Toss back in. Thilthorpe won it against Lycett, but clearing the kick is Darcy Byrne-Jones. Straight to Hinge for the Crows. Got it to Sloane. Miller caught in the tackle, but got boot to ball against Rosie. Tumbles its way into the 50 and Falcons Gallant on the bounce. Charging through Chase Jones, immediate impact as he bulldozes his way through Bonner and forces it over the boundary line and then gives some to Lycett as well. He's ready to roll in his first game of the campaign.
And one area we spoke about at half-time was Adelaide's clearance count. They were -5 differential. Currently they're +3 this quarter, so they've definitely addressed that.
Big improvement.
Yeah.
Thilthorpe goes against Lycett. And Wine's got the ball off the pack, and then he's slung to ground by Sloane. Wines will get up, he's okay. The umpire said that's a sling tackle, free kick.
I reckon Rory Sloane had both legs in the air at one particular point. Maybe not.
Not sure.
One of each.
One of each.
Well, there'll be no action as a result of that tackle at least. Bonner received a short pass, then he went to Byrne-Jones. He went centrally. Boy, that wasn't a good kick. Almost turned over by Adelaide. Diving on the ball was Wines. He got one high. Umpire's going to pay a free kick. No. To Rankin, it went the other way. So Rankin in the centre of play with the free kick to send Adelaide forward. He opts to go wide. Out to the wing to where Murray was standing. Adelaide, well, Murray has only really looked down the line. No options anyway inside. He goes long and high.
To a pack. Double fist from Cleary, knocks it back out of the arc. Rankin puts his head over the footy and is met by Marshall. Spills out to Jones, he kicks it straight back to Jonas. It wasn't 15. He stopped thinking it was a mark, and under pressure, he's turned it over with a panic kick to Sloane. Now to Rochelle, inside 50 for the Crows. He's looking for Thilthorpe and Gallant. It was a little bit high. Aaliyah brings it down, but his handball is poor. Gave it straight to Tex on the left. Snaps from 30 and on the last line. Farrell gets back and knocks it through for a minor score. Scores level once again for the 7th time tonight. 11-5, 71 apiece, heading towards three-quarter time.
Taylor's been had other options to go to other than swinging around onto his left, and that snap fell short.
Farrell plays on from the kick in. Goes out to the eastern side. Long to the contest. Comes to the front for Saligo. It bounced into his hands beautifully inside 50 and hits Walker. Scoreboard pocket that prompts the jeers of the crowd. Can you tell it's a Port Adelaide home game? Walker. Boy, it just gets louder and louder too.
He's actually a right on the left here, and he's deep in that right pocket up the northern end of Adelaide Oval, the open end. Getting a plenty of free advice, I would have thought, from the northern end.
Just looking at the flags at the top of the scoreboard as well. Looks like it's sort of over his left shoulder, so it should favour him from this pocket.
He's hard up against the fence, and they were giving him advice, and you can tell by the cheers what happened. It's the best possible result for the fans of Port Adelaide. It's gone out on the full.
I would have liked to have seen him just come in a little bit side and then have a go on his left, as he can nail it.
He had a couple of punters leaning over the fence in his ear. And I wonder if that played a factor in the kick there. Darcy Byrne-Jones now in the right back pocket. Looks to clear defensive 50. Kick is a little wide, and it actually carries over the paint. Out on the full, straight back to Adelaide at left half forward.
Port Adelaide spectator there gave the ball to Miller. He's going to lose his membership.
Miller heads inside 50. Plenty of power players sitting back in defence. Spilled to Bonner, who's wrapped up in a tackle. Ball up to come. 25 out, side angle to the left. Subs have been activated, as Jack mentioned, so Dersma and Berry out, Fantasia and Jones in. Tossed up, front position, Walker through a fist out, was pulled away from the ruck contest by Scott Lycett and will receive a free kick. Taylor Walker handed the footy. Man on the mark, 25 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Wouldn't mind getting vision of Ken Hinkley right now. That's almost inexcusable.
Looked like
it's not almost, it is inexcusable. Ruckman giving away a free kick in the ruck contest to a forward, a non-ruckman.
30 metres out, defensive area.
And he doesn't miss these, Tex.
Oh, he set him up.
Looking for his first goal of the night, 3-5 for the year. Walker comes in from 30 and he's missed.
Well done, Josh.
Just, it looked
that was
good.
tactical.
Yeah, you can't speak for the rest of the...
It turned late. Maybe the Josh Franco curse. Minor score, Adelaide back up by 1. 11-6-72, plays 11-5-71. Still 3 to play in the third. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco with you as the long kick from Houston heads to the defensive edge of the square.
Oh, and a big pack mark taken by Dawson.
Go back.
So Dawson at left half forward. He hasn't backed off a long way, and he drops it in short. And Rochelle up with the lead up and takes the mark in front of Willem Drew. Dawson runs outside him. An interesting place where he received that ball, Dawson, last year with that after the siren goal from about where he would have received the hand pass. He didn't get it, and so Rochelle backs up. He's a confident young man. We've seen that.
This might be too far for him, though, although the breeze seen me go to that end.
Arcs out to his right, goes bang, got distance, hooked it left. Minor score. Adelaide double their lead. They're out by 2 points. And we've crossed over 27 minutes in this third term. We'll get down to Jack Burketta in a moment. Jack, we just might wait for the kick-in from Farrell just to see if there's a turnover.
Just over 2 minutes to go in this third quarter.
Farrell does what he does best. Roosts it up to the eastern side. Michael Annie from nowhere races across. Diving fist. Knocked it straight to Thilthorpe. He gave it back to Horne-Francis, and the handball chain is away. Winds to Bergman. Put Adelaide up to half forward. Marshall turned but lost his footing. Went to ground. Miller stayed up and cuts it off as they now look to switch across defensive 50. Jack, down to you.
Butts is heading down to the rooms with a right ankle problem. It doesn't look good.
So they've already made their sub. Sam Berry out with no injury issues, and now Jordan Butts could leave them a man down as Adelaide look to move it through the broadcast wing. Rochelle spots Keys. He's outnumbered and spoiled away from him by Darcy Byrne-Jones and over the benches. We'll get a boundary throw in with the Crows up by 2. Still 90 seconds left in the third.
Just good to watch some of these younger players. Rosie, Rochelle, Horne-Francis, all going at it.
Some quality talent on both sides.
Ball comes back into play. And there was a tangle of arms, and the umpires picked out O'Brien for being over the shoulder of Lysett in the ruck contest.
They almost both headbutted that.
So Lysett plays on down the line. Rosie slipped clear. Took the mark at half forward. Overrunning him was Smith. Rosie plays on. Inside forward 50, misjudged by Orazio Fantasia. Hinge comes away. He doesn't misjudge his kick. He hits the chest of Murphy, who says, let's calm things down. Not long to go to three-quarter time. 29.5 down.
Wants everyone to get on the western side so he can kick it down the wing. Leading out, Gallant had to spoil as he got there just behind Rosie. Spills down, crumbed by Smith. Bangs it on the boot, looking for territory, but it will roll over the boundary line and be deemed deliberate, as we've seen across the round. Kane Farrell, the recipient. Still 40 seconds if they're quick, but he's looking backwards already, Farrell, and in the end decides to switch, but the kick is terrible. It's incredibly wide of Houston. Picked up by Pedler, who can snap from 35, but misses for a minor score on the left-hand side. Gee, that was trouble.
Boy, oh boy.
3-point lead to the Crows.
Even they know how much time's left on the clock. Even the fact to switch the ball is staggering. Go down the line, get it out of bounds, create a stoppage, milk some time off the clock.
Where do you think Houston's going to go with this kick in?
Oh wow.
He picks it off straight down the corridor. That was interesting. Straight to Drew. So Drew with the mark. And he drops it into the corridor again to Byrne-Jones. So he's right at centre-half back, and he flares it wide to Jonas, the captain. Surely the skipper will say, let's play this safe. He does. Drops it in short. Out on the boundary, or just about on the boundary, is Rosie. On that eastern side, down the line he goes. And that's 3/4 of what has been a classic showdown, 53. And it is Adelaide with a small advantage. Adelaide 11-8-74. Port Adelaide 11-5-71.
Goal scorers heading into the final term for the Crows. 3 to Thilthorpe and Pedlo, nearly out of fourth there. 2 to Rankin, singles to Rochelle, Dawson and Saligo, meanwhile for the power. 3 to Dixon, 2 to Powpepper, singles to Marshall, Dersma, Butters, Rioli, Rosie and Lockie Jones. It's an enthralling finish in a game that means so much, not only for the state rivalry, but for the context of the season for both these clubs. Great to have you with us for it on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Ready for some fun? The Melbourne International Comedy Festival is back, and it all began with the gala hosted by Luke McGregor.
Thanks for clapping when I came out. That means a lot.
With an all-star lineup.
We're all in this crazy mixed-up world together, though, aren't we? And now, thanks to unisex toilets, we actually are.
The Melbourne International Comedy Festival. The gala.
Excellent!
Stream it now on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Luke Pedler.
Good player, this bloke.
20-year-old, pick 11 from 55. It's flat, it's hard, it's long, it's true. Fans wait to see if their hero can get the job done. Todd Marshall on the board.
Big boy Charlie Dixon. Has he got his kicking boots on? He does. And he flexes the muscles after putting it through for a goal. Gave it to Rochelle by hand. Inside forward 50, Gallant. Oh, he almost took it away from Aaliyah, but Aaliyah did well. Was it a free kick? Yes, it was. Umpire called play on advantage. Saligo kicked the goal across the body.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
It's all on the line heading into the final term. Adelaide by 3 points in Showdown 53 after scores were level at the half and Port led by 6 at quarter time. It's had a bit of everything, but most importantly, it's had some great drama. Sellout crowd, grandstand finish coming your way. Jamo Franco. Aaron Bryant's new across with you for the call. Ron Jamison, Josh Franco, I should mention, for those just joining us. It is a year to the day since Jordan Dawson kicked after the siren to hand the Crows the victory in Showdown 51.
On April Fool's Day today.
On April Fool's Day. So, I mean, I don't know what to expect in this final term, but I'm not ruling out another thrilling finish.
Absolutely not. It's on a knife's edge at the moment.
Yeah. And I think both sides are aware. You know, the pressure from both sides generally has been pretty good, and I think the ability to be able to shut down where Port Adelaide were on top, Adelaide were able to do that. But we talk about the efficiency right at the start of the game. You know, in that quarter, Rochelle missed an easy one, Pedler missed an easy one late, Taylor Walker missed an easy one, and then before in the first half. So you sort of go to the late in the game, obviously, when everyone's waiting for an end result, but there's just crucial times throughout the game that you've just got to, when it's time to step up, you've got to be able to take them. And they're the sort of things that have rued Adelaide. You go back into round one, they should have iced it by half time against GWS. Easy to say now. They went in 6-7 up, but they should have probably gone in 10 up.
Yeah.
And then Richmond last week too. So now we're covering old ground, but it seems to be some of the old things that continually are Adelaide's Achilles heel that actually hurt them in big games like this.
But what I will say, though, is that quarter, we spoke about it at half-time in terms of the clearance differential between Port and Adelaide, and it was +5 in favour of Port Adelaide. Even though Adelaide were winning the first possessions, they weren't able to execute the clearance. That quarter, they tidied that up. So they, for the third quarter, ended up +2 in clearances. And it just felt to me, and we don't actually have stats on time in front half, but it felt to me it was played in Adelaide's half of the ground for a long period of that third quarter. And probably the best stat to indicate that was that they were +8 inside 50s. And I guess the other area of concern, if you're a Port Adelaide supporter, even though we know that the game's still on a knife edge, is that quarter Adelaide were +6 in contested possession. So when you look at those key performance indicators in terms of time in front half, their ability to create repeat entries, the ability to win the contested ball, I thought that was almost a dominant quarter from Adelaide.
Yeah, last 10 minutes on another stat too, 26 to 41% time in possession to Adelaide for the last 10 minutes of that third quarter.
Yeah.
He thought it was close here with Adelaide up by 3 points at the MCG. Scores are level. The Bombers have fought back against the Saints. 9-7-61 apiece with 13 to play. If you want to hear it, jump on the ABC Listen app and hit the AFL button. Meanwhile here, plenty of carnage. Both clubs made their subs, but there's an issue downstairs with Adelaide because Jordan Butts is in the rooms. And Jack, I think there's some news on Sam Berry, who actually has some problems.
So I spoke to the Crows during the break, and Sam Berry was subbed out of the game with a corked calf. Jordan Butt spent the majority of that break downstairs. He's only just emerged. He's done a couple of run-throughs. He is heading to the goal square now to go and stand Charlie Dixon, but he does not look healthy at all.
Adelaide 11-8-74, Port Adelaide 11-5-71. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Adelaide Premiership player and three-time showdown medalist Josh Franco with you.
And just before this last quarter starts, if you're a Port Adelaide supporter, you'd be imploring Junior Rioli, Fantasia, who started as the sub, came on in that third quarter to be involved in the game. Because at the moment, Fantasia has not touched the footy. Rioli just the 6 disposals.
Who wins?
I'll still stay with Adelaide too. I like their fight. I like their spirit. They're just going to maintain their composure and tidy up a few things, and they can certainly win this game.
I didn't like that quarter from Port Adelaide. They've got to respond and get those indicators in their favour, get the game in their front half. I still think they'll win.
Not a good sign for Adelaide. Their fourth quarter this year, they're 0-2, 67 against, 28-4.
Sellout crowd in anticipation of what could be a barnstorming finish. In the middle, O'Brien won it down. It bounced off Rochelle to Lysett, who gave it to Rosie, and Port get the first clearance. Up to right half forward, Hinge threw his body on the line in the air. It bounced off his chest to Jones, the sub. Beautiful kick down the line. Hits up Rankin, who pops up and gives it to Dawson. The two new recruits. Dawson on the 45 hits Keys at left half forward. Hands it wide. Dawson kept running and pierces it to Rochelle. Marks 45 out, tight angle on the left.
Port Adelaide caught scrambling then.
Plays on, opens the angle and heads for home. It's across the face. It'll sit up in the goal square. Thilthorpe brought it down. Jones fumbled. Thilthorpe gathers and converts his fourth on the goal line. Adelaide up by 9. Riley Thilthorpe taking over this game. Crows up 12-8-80, Port 11-5-71, opening minute of the fourth on Grandstand AFL.
I just talked about Port Adelaide. It looked like they were scrambling. Rochelle from the centre bounce, just a power of running. Running forward, Ollie Wines could not close the gap. They just look like at the moment, I know the quarter's just begun, but they got plenty of run in their legs, the Crows.
We spoke about Sam Pell-Pepper and his follow-up, his second, his third effort. Rochelle the same in the middle of the ground, goes out wide. Mitch Hinge actually was the one that went to the contest too, kept it alive. Jordan Dawson, the second, the third, the running efforts to be able to get it into Adelaide's forward line quickly.
I know it was only a little kick, but the dexterity of Thilthorpe, not to think about it, just plonked it on the left foot straight away. In the middle, Riley O'Brien with a knockdown. Port Adelaide come away though through Rosie. Sends it high towards half forward. And getting a hand to the ball, a fist over the line from Duday. And out there on the eastern side at right half forward for Port Adelaide, we'll get a throw in.
And I think from Port Adelaide's perspective as well, that's why I'd like to see Boak injected inside more. We've got Drew and Wines who aren't super quick, with Rosie who does have the leg speed, but inject a little bit more leg speed around the footy. Or Butters for that matter.
So tossed up just behind right half forward for the Power, kicking to the northern end or the left of your radio dial. It was one down straight to Murphy for the Crows. Kicked in a bit of panic and he'll take a bounce over the line and be deemed deliberate.
That's tough.
It only carried about 10 metres and he's turned it over. Rosie brings it back in. Hits Houston, true centre wing on the logo.
Jason Horne-Francis on the bench, having a rest. Sloan also too for Adelaide.
Houston long to a pack in the 50. Flying is Duday. Sport it straight to Rioli, who knocked it out. Fantasia, the sub, couldn't control it. Big, heavy tackle. Another sling against Willem Drew. Or is it?
Yep.
Against Willem Drew it is, yes. So he will stand the mark. And it will be Chase Jones's free kick, who's popped back up okay, but gee, the MRO is going to have a lot to look at tomorrow because there's been a couple of 50-50 calls.
And again, that was a sling, but it really wasn't a sling into the ground, if you know what I mean. He was twisted around. Meanwhile, he's kicked it out on the full, Jones. So Port Adelaide take over ahead of centre wing through Cleary. He takes his time. And now he's called a play on, goes inboard. And Aaliyah. So they've gone backwards maybe 5 metres and they'll go further backwards, but across into the centre corridor to Houston. Houston can come out this side to Byrne-Jones, and he does so with a diagonal ball that has him at left half forward. But Adelaide's moved their zone defence across. Byrne-Jones plays on now, arcs around on the right foot, sends it high and long. O'Brien came from about 6 deep and crashed it forward and then picking up the ball with Saligo, slammed into the carpet by Orazio Fantasia, and we'll get a ball up in the left forward pocket for Port Adelaide. Adelaide by 9 points.
Dixon slaps it behind his head straight to Boak, who's escorted over the line by Saligo. Another boundary throw in to come. Short and sharp on the text line, 0437 774 774. Jay says, go the power.
That'll do it.
9 point lead to the Crows.
Calm the pair.
Inside Adelaide's attacking 50. Dixon slaps it down. Crows have numbers at the fall of the ball. Laird rushes the kick out towards the western side. Sitting underneath it, Jonas was collected and receives the free kick. What's going the way of the Crows? Walker.
That was strange. That was strange.
They pointed the wrong way a lot of times tonight. I don't like to use it as an excuse, but it's been a bit shocking. On the 45, tried to get it off to Scholl. It bounced off him when Pal Pepper charged in, and he's escorted over the line by Saligo. It's been an odd night for the officiated. We've had multiple calls of play on for a step off the line. Then it completely disappeared in the second half. The pointing of the wrong ends hasn't been a great night.
Carry on.
Short throw in that time. And the ball will end up back over the line. Not quite. Boak had a fresh air of a hand pass, which effectively was a throw, and it fell to Laird, who then hit the outside of his foot out on the full. Boak gets it back.
Well, talking about umpires, that was a clear miss, that one.
So Boak plays on. Down the line he goes with a kick looking for Dixon, and Dixon takes it. But I think Butts is saying, yeah, but he took it because I knocked it straight onto his chest. He goes long. Murray couldn't pull it down. He had a hand on it. McElhaney was there for Adelaide. Then it comes to Pedlar. Oh, he's partly caught. He couldn't get it away. Is it called holding the ball? It is. Pal Pepper got him, and Pedlar just was slowed enough for another arm to come in from Willem Drew, and as a result he's caught for holding the ball, and it's only 15 metres out slightly to the left for Willem Drew.
And probably another KPI within the AFL system is the 450 tackles and the ability to apply pressure to stop the opposition from exiting the ball.
Drew to bring it back to a one-kick game. Oh, he makes the goal umpire work. In fact, he's worked outside the goalpost. A minor score from just 15 out. Boy, will they regret that. Port, we'll find out. 6 minutes down in this quarter.
Pitch invader.
They've got two of them.
Charging through the centre square.
Well, clearly one of them's a power fan.
They're looking to complete the full sprint from end to end, and the security has taken a while to realise, so they may actually get it done. They're going around the square instead, and they've split up now. One will definitely be taken down. He's brought just outside the attacking 50 for the Crows. The other has slipped over and conceded in the centre square. So
I tell you, it's been a thrilling contest, and they're not going to see the end of it.
Always takes a couple of idiots to ruin things. The hill is packed tonight. I imagine that's where they came from, because there is always the free-flowing juices up on the northern end, but disappointing. It's a really close game. They're going to have to kill a couple of minutes here because of the pitch invaders.
What does that cost them?
I think it's 5 or 10 grand.
Right. Should be 20.
And they're, and if they're supporters of, let's assume,
Port membership,
you pull it for the year, or if not longer.
Yep. So thankfully it didn't really impact any play because it was Adelaide's kick-in, so we don't have to reset anything. It has given Port Adelaide some time to set up behind the ball, just outside their attacking 50.
Tackles inside forward 50, 9 to Port Adelaide, 10 to Adelaide. So defensive work in their forward area has been pretty good.
Yep. Security guard on the eastern side wouldn't get off. The umpire actually had to tell him to hurry up, and now we can continue play. So Crows by 8. 8 minutes into the fourth, although I imagine it will be a long quarter now. Long kick from Brodie Smith to the defensive edge of the square western side. Plenty of players through, and Walker is crunched amongst them all. Spilled out, Port Adelaide back inside 50. Farrell with a beautiful kick and hits up Fantasia on the chest. 40 out, straight in front.
Great kick there from Horne-Francis, wasn't it? Just lowered his eyes. Fantasia presenting on the lead and hit him right on the chest.
So Fantasia, the sub, on for Xavier Dersma. Hasn't had the best start to his season on return from multiple knee injuries, but this would mean a lot. Orazio Fantasia heads for home and brings it back to a 2-point game. soaking it in. Orazio Fantasia in front of a sellout crowd. Port Adelaide advanced to 12-6-78. The Crows 12-8-80. Still plenty to play in Showdown 53.
Just the contest coming out too. I think it was 3 or 4 players. Adelaide went up and the footy goes over the back. And, Horne-Francis just low down. Very clean.
Let's go down to Jack Paquetta on the boundary.
Brodie Smith came off then and he's absolutely fuming. He's belted the air ski over and saw the drinks have gone flying and he is absolutely seething with that one.
Is that because of the contest too, Jack?
I think so. He looks angry at himself more than anything.
Yeah, if football gets over the back, it's just cost and then it turns around and you talk about it doesn't run it around the ground. You just, as a defender, you cannot do that, but deep in your defence, you can't do it either.
So by my mark, it's 5 lead changes. I think we were up to 7 times scores have been level. Out of the middle comes Boat for Port Adelaide. Sends it in long, looking for Dixon. Comes off his chest, down to Pal Pepper. And then forward he went with a hand pass to Butters. And then a Fantasia gave it to Bergman, kick smothered. Chase Jones did well, gave it to Miller. I just said, let's get out of here. Keys almost marked it. Horne-Francis diving hand pass. Gave it to Jones, then Boak again. Dodges around one inside 50, picked his mark. Dropped the ball, Pal Pepper. Let's play on, he gets up, arcs around on the left foot and puts Port Adelaide in front. Pal Pepper with his 3rd of the evening. He almost took the mark. Stayed on his feet, grabbed the ball, got around on his non-preferred left foot and hooked it around the body for a goal. Port Adelaide 13-6-84, Adelaide 12-8-80. This is a classic.
And once again shows the importance and value of winning that centre bounce. Boak there influential, hacked it forward. And I guess the thing I liked about it was the aerial contest from Pal Pepper. Even though he didn't mark it, kept his feet. And then really good composure with the footy through traffic. Outstanding bit of play there from Port Adelaide. At the moment, they're looking ominous. And if you're looking again at the KPIs, we spoke about it at three-quarter time. Adelaide dominated the inside 50s, currently at 6-1 in favour of Port Adelaide.
So they try to increase his motor over the journey, they know he's impactful too. So he's really starting to get that balance right. When he gets hold of the football, even his defensive work is outstanding.
Yep.
Back in the bars, sellout crowd, up by 4 and in the middle. Great run-down tackle. Lysett won it down to Sloan, who was caught. And then Drew decided to tackle Dawson and gave away a free kick for a hold. He didn't have the footy. So the Crows skipper behind the centre circle plays on and races away to the eastern wing. Booming kick into the 50. Front position Rankin at the back. Thilthorpe couldn't claim it. Gallant has a fumble. Alair puts his head over the footy, leaves it in the end. And poor Zach Butters is wrapped up. Ball up to come. Left forward pocket for the Adelaide Crows. 30 out, trailing by 4. Showdown 53. Toss back up. O'Brien takes it away from Finlayson but ran into a wall. Handball out to Jones, who's mauled. Gang tackled. Holding the ball. Free kick to Port Adelaide in defensive 50.
This is where Adelaide have to number off and lock it in their forward half. Don't allow an easy outlet or an uncontested mark.
Well, they're down a number because Rankin's limping away from that contest. Bergman dropped it short and wide. Went to Jones. He dropped it short and wide and missed his man. Forced Farrell to dive for the ball. He knocked it over the boundary line in the end. We'll get a throw in. Chance for Adelaide to set up. Port Adelaide will regather defensively.
Lockie Murphy on his own here.
Ball comes back into play. O'Brien got his man away from the ball, and then was Murphy taken high? Umpire said no, holding the ball. Had an opportunity. Taken down by Butters, who plays on now, chips it for Burn-Jones. Eastern side of the ground. Just ahead of half-back, plays on. Short he goes. Wines takes the mark, just behind centre wing.
Just Adelaide do the work, but then they make it hard for themselves.
The Brownlow medalist goes long, heading up to centre half forward. Dixon's got a run at it. Dawson flies, as does Butts. Double spoil to O'Brien. Sloan gets a handball clear out to Jones. He's been lively since being activated on the eastern wing. Retreats to Hinge and then off a step goes high to an out number. Alair with a double tap down. Put it in the path of Houston, became the tackler. Coming through, Butters may have caught one high, certainly sold it, doesn't matter. They'll take the advantage. Jones through the centre circle, heads towards Marshall, gets rid of Murray but can't claim it. Pal Pepper comes in and they collide, the two power forwards. It enables Murray to clear. Poor error. Coming across, Jonas brings it down, fends off Saligo, back to Jones, pierces it to Rioli, but he fumbles. He drops the uncontested mark, and Adelaide race away.
Michael Annie down the line with his kick. Gallant was got rid of by Cleary, who picks it up now close to the boundary line. Rankin robs him of it from the ground. Hand pass up for Gallant. He goes inboard with a kick. Interesting decision, but a good one. Murphy with a strong mark. Up in front of Burne-Jones, 40 out, basically straight in front.
There's a couple of times it could have gone either way there. Yeah. Caught freeze for both teams, but just a really smart kick wasn't in the end. You caught it, Crossy. I thought, oh my gosh. However, I think Lockie Murphy just had the momentum to be able to run up. Darcy Burne-Jones was found flat-footed.
Murphy comes in, strikes his first goal of the season. Adelaide players from everywhere come and greet him, and they've got back the lead. Adelaide by 2 points, 13-8, 86. Port Adelaide 13-6, 84. 14 minutes into the final quarter. Who's going to win this?
How many times has it changed lead? Aaron's just trying to work.
7 now. I'm trying to keep up with the math.
And I reckon poor old Junior Rioli hasn't had the best day. He still hit the scoreboard, kicked 1-goal-1, but he'd like that play again just to not drop an easy mark and allowed the rebound from Adelaide.
Yeah, Murray Butts just doing a fair bit of work in the back half, really, when you have to be composed, don't you?
Meanwhile, the G St Kilda have stormed home. They're up by 30 points against the Bombers with 2 minutes to play. Looks like it'll be closer here. 2-point game. Showdown 53. Adelaide chasing its first win of the season. The Power want to get back on the board. It was a poor bounce, just stayed in the circle. Socket off the deck by Wines. It rolls up to half forward on Francis, the tackler on Smith, who got it out to Millerer. The Crows exit to the eastern side. It's a wide kick to Keys. Rolls over the boundary line. They'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It'll be tossed back into play, centre wing.
Great pressure there from Finlayson. Just got that glove on Millerer just to affect the kick to go out of bounds.
Hush comes over the crowd. Brief pause in proceedings. Ball comes back into play. Keys just knocks it forward. Off the ground, O'Brien sends it inside forward 50. Aliir and Gallant go for it. Both go to ground. Gallant can't get back. Both hands on the ball. Saligo comes in, picks it up, tackled, released a hand pass. Now it's fallen for Walker. Head pass back to Rankin. Tried to get around a couple. He couldn't do it.
It's play on, and they're all standing around. I think they were happy to get it over the line.
In the end, it was Jonas who walked it over the line pretty much, but Houston and Jones were almost walked around by the brilliance of Rankin. We'll get a throw in after all that.
Shocked it wasn't holding the ball. He missed the boot when he dropped it. Tossed back in. Walker won it down, then crumbs his own footy. Breaks through 2. Gives it to Ladd, who finishes at the top of the goal square and sends the Adelaide Oval into a frenzy. Laird puts them up by 8. Still 10 to play in the fourth. On Grandstand AFL, Jack Bicketta on the boundary.
The atmosphere has gone up a notch or two down here. This is the loudest I've heard the Oval in a couple of years by far.
Both teams got 8 goal scorers, too many with multiple, but just the best defence in big games. And drop it in as many times as you can. The pressure, it can get caught out.
Yeah, and even just looking at that stoppage there, Will Drew would like his time over again in that stoppage. Just fumbled the footy, and then looking at Jonas as that sweeper got a little bit tight, got sucked into where the footy was, opened up the front gate. Laird capitalised on it and was clean, and a great finish. What a game of footy.
Yes.
Wow. Adelaide's lost 7 of their past 10 matches at the Adelaide Oval. Can they hold on this time?
Port Adelaide getting a warning here too. Haven't set up in the allotted time.
In the 666. So, ball thrown up in the middle of the ground. O'Brien slips out a hand pass. It's come to Sloane from Rochelle. Long kick inside 50. Walker a hand on the ball. Gets it to ground. Rankin with the tackle. Walker follows in as well. And there's no way that's coming out from under. Farrell, who is crushed into the turf. Ball up. 30 out.
There used to be a rule, Crossy, too. You jumped on it, then your teammate, the third person, comes over the top to give away a free.
Lycett won it down to Cleary. Clearing kicks to the centre square, but Brodie Smith got rid of Horn Francis and takes the intercept mark. We know he's got a long kick. Called to play on. He sends it all the way to the right forward pocket. Getting a run at it, Saligo. Cut off. Farrell got a hand up. Spilled to Bonner. He's caught immediately in the tackle. No prior. Ball up to come right forward pocket. 25 out from the Crows' goal.
Everything heated up. Every little mistake is going to be magnified now. Ball goes into the air. Lycett towards the boundary line and over. Wines grabbed it. Ran along the line. Outside the boundary for about 10 yards.
The efficiency too, Port Adelaide in that first quarter. Inside 50s, 8-6 in favour of Port, but Adelaide have kicked 3 goals straight. Port Adelaide with the 2-1.
Lycett opposed to Walker. This time Walker opts to come from behind and gets the ball to ground away from Lycett. Picks it up himself. Hand pass was partially smothered, went up in the air. Finally cleared away by Houston. Just a scrambling kick. It's just found the point of the square. Oh, just poured forward. And it found Fantasia. And Fantasia's kick down the line was intercepted by Hinge. Was that Palpepper who got that hand on the ball then? I think it was. Just knocked it forward. So Adelaide will come from defence again. Hinge flares wide. McElhaney did well. Picked up the bouncing ball with a hand pass out. Finally it's come to Keys. Down the line. Jeez, his skills under pressure have improved this season. Good kick finds Sloane.
Cool heads.
Looks inside. Rochelle on the logo centre wing. Great performance from him tonight. Called to play on. He'll go long towards the arc in the left forward pocket. Walker's outnumbered. Lear threw his body on the line over the top of it. Almost surfboarded the pack. Rosie front and square. Caught in a tackle. Pedley gets him. Ball up to come. 45 out. Tossed up. O'Brien wins it down straight to Laird. Drew's on him. Got a handball clear in the tackle. It trickles towards the boundary line. Rankin runs onto it. Houston's on his tail, and they force it over for a boundary throw-in. Bit on after as well. Houston won't let Rankin up. Jumper tugging on the ground. A couple of players come in to pull them apart.
And that time, there was a quick throw-in. It came to Walker. Straight onto the left foot. Elias sitting in the goal square defensively for Port Adelaide, though. And now it'll be 50 because into the goal square was Pedler, who immediately put his hands up. He wasn't on the mark. He had to go back the 9 metres. The umpire said that's 50. Aaliyah now breaks to the far side. And there's a mark out there for Bergman. He plays on from half-back. His kick carries a little over the pack. And coming the other way, it was picked up by Smith. Adelaide away. Smith carries on, receives a return hand pass from Chase Jones. Goes inside 50 with his kick. Aaliyah back with a flight, takes a strong mark.
He's keeping them in at the moment. Poor Josh Franco is trying to figure out who he's voting for in the showdown medal, but it's a tough call. Adelaide up by 8. Still 8 minutes to play. Out to the eastern wing. Hinge got front position. Should have taken the chest mark and dropped it. Farrell loses the handball. Miller escorts it over, sliding across the boundary line. It'll be tossed back into play on the eastern wing. Full time at the MCG. St Kilda winners over Essendon 14-8-92 to the Bombers 11-8-74. So celebrating their 150th celebrations in style. Here, the Crows trying to hold on.
Ball comes back into play. That time it was Houston from Lycett in the ruck. Forward he goes with a hand pass to Rosie. Down the line long. And McElhaney is pushed under the ball by Horne-Francis. It'll be a free kick to Adelaide. So the young guns going at it. And that time it was the Adelaide player, Max McElhaney. His father, a premiership player with the Norwood Football Club in the SANFL. He goes long with his kick. Interesting jump by Rankin. He came down, almost got the crumb. O'Brien, surely he's close to best on ground as he breaks away. Gives it to Sloane. Inside forward, 50. Gallant. Oh, he couldn't take it away from Aaliyah. He's claiming a mark and the umpire says, give it to me. He didn't want to make a decision. And the umpire will ball it up. 30 out straight in front of the Adelaide attacking goals at that Riverbank stand end.
I reckon he's held that, Crossy, but he's backwards to the umpire. Tossed up. Walker wins it down. Burne-Jones was waiting, lost the footy as he dropped it to his boot. Rankin can pick it up out of nowhere. Isaac Rankin! Delirium at the Adelaide Oval. Rankin has 3. In the middle of about 10 players, he pulls it out, heads for home and gives them a 14-point lead in Showdown 53. 15-8-98. Plays 13-6-84. 7 minutes remain on Grandstand AFL.
Well, there's still plenty of time, isn't there, too? Just at the moment we spoke, Adelaide had the last 10 minutes. They were in control. They had it inside their forward half and deep in their forward 50 and gained the best defence under pressure. Big game. 14 points, 3 kicks. This is where Port Adelaide just got to pull the earplugs and just get going. Been so good in the middle of the ground. Adelaide cannot defend this either, too. They're looking Sloan, Laird, Dawson and O'Brien. Lysette, Rosie. You got Drew and Horne-Francis in the middle for Port.
Back in the middle, and again, first touch to Adelaide. They're starting to come on there. It was Laird and Sloan, the experienced one. Sloan down to half forward with a kick. Murphy leads the chase towards the boundary line. Picks it up, slips his kick forward. Rankin got his man away from the ball. Aaliyah picked it up, though, on the ground. And then his kick outside, defensive 50, was taken by Rosie just quickly. The crowd, 48,962. A huge audience to watch what has been a classic. Adelaide turn the ball over on centre wing now. Duday sends it back towards half forward. Contest off hands, taken by Murphy. Slipped the hand pass to Sloan inside 50, wide out. And it's Thilthorpe low down with the mark.
So you have a look at fresh legs. Rory Sloan has been outstanding in this last quarter. Chase Jones with the 7. And for Port Adelaide, Houston, Rosie in the middle. They've had 5 along with Fantasia, but all 11 inside 50s to 9 in favour Adelaide this quarter.
And signs aren't really good for Port Adelaide. They're just chasing Guernseys at the moment.
Going to make it hard too, isn't it? 14 points. Riley Thilthorpe, 4 goals.
The number 2 pick in the 2020 draft.
That makes it hard.
From the boundary, around the body for a goal. Oh, and Adelaide, that might be the death knell for Port. You know they'll keep coming. But it's Adelaide 16-8-104. Port Adelaide 13-6-84. A 20-point margin, 25 minutes into the 4th term.
Geez, he's really stood up tonight, hasn't he, too? He's been in and out and didn't play in the first game. Worked his way back in last week. But tonight, just really stood up when it's counted.
Nick's described him in the pre-season as too good for Sandford, but not yet ready for AFL and just wanted a little bit of time. He gave it to him. He dominated in the Sandford trial with 4 goals, becomes the sub last week, gets to come in early, kicks a couple, and now tonight has 5.
He smashes himself, like, physically, and I think you saw Darcy Fogarty last year and Riley Thilthorpe's a little bit the same. They beat each other up mentally. They do 20 good things, but they hang on to the one bad and it just eats them away.
The Crows are storming home, 20-point lead, and Scholl gets a clearance up to half forward again out of the middle. Alia's first to meet it, but too low for him. Jones went to ground, but paddled it out to Farrell. Gathers at left half back. Port Adelaide in transition. He's heading down the line to Pal Pepper, went to ground, got a hand on it, but couldn't reel it in. Hinge darts away. Adelaide at right half back. The handball to Laird, lowers the eyes, pierces it. Nice kick to Scholl. Handball over the top. They have the outnumber. Pedler turns over the top. Here's Murphy, right half forward on the boundary line. Calls everyone in.
Yeah, just got to be smart. Everyone's sort of working down. He can't just go long.
One more goal may do it. Into the 50. Thilthorpe flies. Front and square. Pedler should have taken it. Tried to paddle it instead to Rankin, who becomes the tackler. Gee, Pedler could have run into a goal there if he just put both hands up. Ball up. 35 out. Adelaide's attacking 50. They're up by 20.
5 goals this quarter, Adelaide. 2 to Port.
Off the contest, Rochelle taken down in a tackle. And Drew got him. And forces a ball up. A little bit of cramping there for Rochelle.
Almost at the point too, fellas. I reckon Matthew Nix will be starting to think about getting numbers back. Extra behind the footy just to lock this away.
And just Rochelle is struggling with cramp, and what he didn't need was off that ruck contest, the ball came to him. Now it's still on the ground towards the boundary, and that was taken over without... Yes, I was going to say, if that is insufficient intent. Laird dived at the ball, basically tapped the ball over the line. Port Adelaide take over in their left back pocket through Rosie. Straight across the goals, dangerous.
Rochelle really struggling to get off as a smother. Great smother by Chase Jones.
Bergen somehow managed to take it, but then kicked it straight into Jones. It ricocheted out, and Murphy sent it straight back in to the man who set it all up. Chase Jones marks, 45 out, tight angle to the left. What was Connor Rosie thinking originally? And then Bergman gifted an escape option turns it straight back over with a beautiful smother off Chase Jones.
I'm sorry, Aaron, I don't mean to laugh. I'm just watching Josh Tresselli try to get off. He's cramping up, I think, in both hammies. He's really still halfway.
The much maligned pick number 9, 23-year-old, contract year, biggest moment of his life, and he's kicked it from 48. Chase Jones' first goal since 2021. Maybe the icing on the cake in Showdown 53. Adelaide are up by 26 points. 5 on the trot. 17-8, 110. Place 13-6, 84.
Well, we spoke contested ball clearance and efficiency just in this quarter alone. 38-25 in favour of Adelaide. Ground ball gets 24-13. Clearances, Port Adelaide on top again, 12-8. But Adelaide have been in their 50 12 times to 9. 6 goals straight for 2-1 in this last quarter alone.
And that's a big swing in terms of contested footy. If you're minus 13 and there's still 3.5 minutes left on the clock, that is a big number in terms of differential in contested possession. And you can see it visually. You can see it. Adelaide look like they got more players around the footy, and they are winning that contested ball.
Well, they almost didn't have the right number inside the centre square for the ball up then, and as a result they conceded a warning for 6-6-6. Port Adelaide with the ball now out of the centre square, taken by Pal Pepper. He flares it wide on the eastern side. Bergman with the mark. Knows time is of the essence. Plays on, goes from 55 out and doesn't quite have the distance. Needed to run another metre. Hinge went back, knocked it through for the minus score. 30.5 minutes down on the clock, and Adelaide leads by 25 points in Showdown 53 on ABC Grandstand Radio.
And it looks like Adelaide have pulled the trigger on it. Dawson started on the wing. He's now a +1 in defence.
Playing on, Hinge heads to the western side. Long kick to a pack. Off hands, Drew. Retreats back with the handball to Farrell. Back inside 50 for the power. Coming across Murray through a fist out but missed. Marshall gathers but loses it in a Murray tackle. He gathers for the Crows but gives it to Rioli. Darting around Rosie, runs out of room. Sold Rioli into a bit of trouble and somehow got it to Boak. He's caught in a Laird tackle. All they had to do was just get boot the ball at any stage there, but no one wanted it. Ball up, 30 out.
Just pressure, Aaron, too. Adelaide. Mitch Hinge, probably one of his best games tonight. 21 disposals, going at 90%.
Dixon wins it down through Pal Pepper. Keys is at the back, snaps around the body, straight to Rioli, hands it to Drew, snaps from 45. It's low, but it's worked. It's set up, not intended to, for Travis Boak, who marks 20 out. Slight angle to the left.
Not inconceivable, though. 2 minutes to go, 25 points. You think Travis, with his experience, 29th Showdown, will go back, slot it through.
3-time Showdown medalist, but quiet tonight. Boak misses, and that'll be the dagger. 24-point lead to the Crows. Under 2 minutes to play in Showdown 53.
Well, happens to the best, huh?
Yeah. Crowd starting to thin. Port Adelaide fans won't be impressed by this. Ball kicked in from Adelaide through Hinge. Comes to ground outside defensive 50. That was fortuitous. It came just off the boot of Laird. And now they find it forward to Gallant, and he goes down to half forward to Thilthorpe. He was immediately taken in a tackle when he got it. Aaliyah was gentle, shall we say, in guiding him to the turf. It's a ball up at right half forward for Adelaide. They've been dominant in this final quarter, and again from the stoppage taken away by Laird, who puts it up, and Gallant takes the mark on 50. He'll just hold things up, suck another 30 seconds off the clock, you'd think.
Riley Thilthorpe really smart too, just held back Aaliyah defenders, allowed Lockie Gallant. He's got a big motor too. He gets around, covers the ground. He was just up here on the halfback, deep in the last quarter too, defending. Umpire's just now going to tell him to hurry up and get things going.
Just his 9th game of AFL football. Pick 48 in the 2019 draft. Lockie Gallant comes in, he crosses the boundary line, and from 53 metres puts everything into it, away to the right always for the minus score. So Adelaide again just up on that 25-point mark. So 25 points the margin as we close in on the end of what's been a classic showdown, 53.
Ending with a bit of a whimper for the Power, unfortunately, after a cracking contest. Clearing kick goes as far as Duday in the centre square. Hands it to Keys. Little 1-2 with Murray. Over the top, tried to get it to Saligo. Lockie Jones back with the flight with the fist. Didn't carry. Saligo gathers and spears it into the 50 to Isaac Rankin. He's had a little bit of everything tonight. The X-Factor recruit. And he's worth every penny. Rankin will go back from 25 out on the siren. It's a matter of the margin now. What a performance in this final term by the Adelaide Football Club. Isaac Rankin starts on the pain of 50 and finishes with 4. Adelaide have come storming home for a victory of monumental importance. They come from everywhere to celebrate their first win of the season by 25 points.
We're known as the Adelaide Crows. We're courageous, stronger, faster, and respected by our foes. Admiration of the nation, our determination shows. We're the pride of South Australia. We're the mighty Adelaide Crows.
It was a ripping game, back and forth with multiple lead changes, 7 in the end. Port led by 6 at quarter time, scores level at 57 apiece at the half. Adelaide by 3 at three-quarter time before kicking the last 6 goals to win by 31 points. 18-9, 117 to the Power, 13-8, 86. Thilthorpe had 5, Rankin had 4, Pedler with 3. An incredible performance. It was a loss Ken Hinkley was desperate to avoid, but Adelaide is on the board for season 2023.
Yes, the pride of South Australia. We're the mighty Adelaide
Crows. It was a game for the taking for the Port Adelaide Football Club. Sellout crowd back in the prison bars. And they completely capitulated in the final term. Adelaide's best footy can certainly compete with the elite sides. 18-9, 117 to 13-8, 86. Is that the rocket that Matthew Nix's side needed to get out of the rebuild? We'll wait and see early stages of the season, but gee, that was electric. To break it all down, Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco.
It was an outstanding finish, wasn't it, to the Adelaide Footy Club, just the way that they went about it. 7-1 in that last quarter to 2-3, just maintained possession of the football. They played a way on which they wanted to play, and you can see it's coming, but they haven't been able to execute it. But tonight, I thought for majority of the time, which if you do, you hang in there, and the opposition will take control at some point. You've just got to be able to slow it down, get it back, and I just felt Adelaide were able to. Thought they might have blown it in the early part of game with the wayward and the efficiency in front of goal in that third quarter, particularly some part in the first half. But that second part of the last quarter, particularly the entire last quarter, I just thought that was probably the blueprint that Matty Nix wants to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought the signs were there for Adelaide and Port Adelaide in that third quarter. And we mentioned some KPIs, the +8 inside 50s to the Crows. I thought the game was played in their front half. And in terms of contested possessions in that third quarter, they were +6. One of the areas I reckon Ken Hinkley and the Port Adelaide Footy Club, they'll be scratching their head over, and I reckon it's going to come under the microscope, is the contested ball differential. -57 last week, -22 again today. Contested possession is probably the best indicator of work rate and intent, and it's not quite there to the level they need it to be.
Very keen to hear how your votes played out, Josh Franco, because it was a tight game to call. Let's head downstairs to Jared Rolsh.
Voting has been carried out by a panel of industry experts. And I'd now like to invite Michaela Grigg, who is a variety grandchild, to present the Showdown Medal awarded to the player Best of Field. The winner of the Showdown Medal from the Adelaide Football Club is Jordan Dawson.
Your votes, Josh, just quickly.
I had Dawson 3, Rochelle I thought was outstanding 2, and Thilthorpe 1.
But again, you got to give it halfway through that last quarter, so to back in Josh, it's a little unfair when the last few minutes actually swung.
I just want to say well done to our boys. It's been a tough start to the year, and it's good to get the first win on the board. It's always a great game against Port. We have the most respect for them, and thanks for Variety for putting on a great event again. Well done to our boys.
New Crow skipper Jordan Dawson, now a 2-time Showdown medalist.
Chair of Variety to present the Variety Showdown Shield to the captain of the Adelaide Football Club, Jordan Dawson.
He's back again. Busy man.
Well, skipper has a lot of responsibility.
He's beloved by the footy club internally. They knew from the moment he arrived he'd be a senior leader. And he charges in to celebrate with his troops. It's a statement win. We'll break it all down. We're with you for the next 38 minutes. We'll try and get into both camps as well for some reaction. But Adelaide winners by 31 points. Jordan Dawson, the Showdown medalist. And I'm not going to lie, Jamo. I mean, 0-2 didn't look great. It was a tough fixture to come. It was hot in Sydney, 36-degree heat. They back it up 6 days later against Richmond and don't turn up. And maybe what we've seen tonight is the potential of this side this year.
Well, I don't agree they didn't turn up. The first half they were lacklustre. Third quarter poured it on against Richmond too and got within that 1 point. And then they just couldn't hang on in that last quarter. So again, it's when most clubs actually find themselves, they talk about the consistency and being able to put as much together. If you win 2.5 quarters, close to 3, you're going to win most of the games too. And there's other stats that go into that mix. But Adelaide have showed it, and I think, I feel, I'm a little impatient around it now. And a couple of the players have come out pre-season this year and said, right, it's time to win. We are young. Yes, we need experience. But they threw that into the middle. Rochelle was in the middle at times too. Pedler was in the middle at times. Berry was in the middle at times. So these guys that are still learning their craft, maybe that's why the experience of Port Adelaide where it was. They get touched up in the middle. But if you don't expose them, they're not going to learn. So, look, I don't know if I could coach. I know Josh has been in the box several times, but the frustration in what you want to do and how you want it to. But you've got an opposition that have got either experience and trying to stop you but also do what they want to do too.
It's funny you say that too. You talk about who'd want to coach and you talk about the fickleness of our game. Like tomorrow's headlines will be Crows are world champions and it's doom and gloom at Port Adelaide. They're both 1 and 2, but a terrific win from Adelaide. They came in to go 0-3. It's almost... it's very, very, I was going to say almost curtains. It's probably not at that point, but it's very, very difficult to come back and challenge for the finals when you're 0-3. So there's a huge amount of pressure on this young Adelaide Football Club team coming into this showdown. Conversely, Port Adelaide came off a really poor loss, so they would have expected a response. And I guess in true typical showdown form, it was an epic game again. A lot of momentum swings, a lot of lead changes. What a great game of footy.
It is interesting, though, that these are the official AFL pointers towards the game. Adelaide's lost 5 of the last 6 showdowns by an average margin of 48 points.
Yeah.
So that hangs over your head, I would have thought.
Yeah, it would.
Well, there was a couple that were, I think, 3 or 4 points, like within that 6 or 7 as well. It's been the other margins that have been significant where Adelaide haven't been able to hang on to. So I think the ability to be able to swing it that way up against a Port Adelaide home game too, so you're not going to get it all your way. You've actually got to create your own environment.
Yep.
And they were able to do that when they fell behind. I think Port Adelaide kicked the first 2, and at one point, they got ahead by 3 goals. So it was. So to be able to, it's a credit to, you've got to start moving away from the young group to say that they're actually able to find their feet and get back on it.
You must love the recruitment of Isaac Rankin. I remember when we spoke about this last year that, there was still the opportunity maybe for a Jason Horne-Francis, and Adelaide were hell-bent on Isaac Rankin, and a lot of the conversation was, well, they need a midfielder. Why are they getting a forward? Well, this is why.
But it's interesting, when you talk about Isaac Rankin, having spent 3 years with him at the Gold Coast Suns, and if you're talking 2K times in terms of elite AFL midfielders, they're running sort of low 6s. Isaac Rankin's, I reckon, about a 6'15". So even though we classify him as a small forward, he has got a massive engine. So he is the sort of bloke that can go on ball, as an impact burst player, and no doubt Matthew Nicholl will use him in that format as his career goes on here at Adelaide. But he's electric. And it was interesting, the narrative around Isaac Rankin coming to Adelaide. He's getting too much money. I must admit, I wasn't too vocal about it, but that's absolutely rubbish. He's an absolute superstar in the making, if not already.
And that's what I couldn't, when supporters sit back and they're all impatient, every side, you want your team to win. But you speak to most supporters and go, do what you can to get these players. Do whatever you can.
Yeah.
And when clubs do, they're heavily criticised for what they feel without knowing the full detail too. And he is all class. And, he'll get better and he'll be more consistent.
Yeah.
But the things that Josh knows about him too, he's all class. And he's done 3 years and here he is into his fourth.
Isn't that another indication of modern life, social media, feedback all the time? And as Ken Hinckley says all the time, you're never as bad as it seems, it's never as good as it seems.
Yeah.
Crows making their way down the race. Tom Duday had the Showdown Shield and was marching it around the Western Wing in celebration. Jack Paqueta is down in the room, so he can let us know what's happening as the Crows make their way in what's going to be, I'd imagine, a raucous version of the song. Jack.
Aaron, they've just started making their way into the rooms now. Jordan Dawson carrying the Showdown Shield. It's, as you can imagine, a very packed rooms down here. All the Sandford boys have stuck around after their game and their big win over the Magpies earlier today. Lots of family, lots of friends, lots of girlfriends, and the Crows board. It seems like every single board member is coming here today. The soft drink has already started to be poured over young Max Michaelini, and they're pushing Isaac Rankin into the middle as well to get around next to the Shield. Let's have a look as I start to... I won't get too close with all this spraying going on, but we'll get the song now for you. So there we have it, the Crows song after their first win of the year, beating Port by 31 points. I'll hope to get an interview for you shortly.
There's a lot of energy in those rooms, Jamo.
Well, it's been a big day, hasn't it? 2 SNFL game was played prior to this one too, and Adelaide had a big 78-point win in there. A number of players played really well, so again, it's the pressure that you continue to push up. And
that's 3 Showdown Shields you hold now, is that right?
Yeah, well,
the League one, the Reserves one, and the Women's, isn't that right?
Yeah, so look, it's good. I mean, it's really good. I came here, it was really difficult to actually drive to the ground and listen and watch the other games and just go, I really don't know which way this is going to go. Then Port Adelaide kicked the first 2, I go, this is going to be a long night. But again, being impartial, I think it was a cracking game. It really was. It was, heated at times, spiteful at times. Both sides played really good football. They both declared they don't like each other. Jordan Dawson says we have a lot of respect for Port Adelaide too, which we do. When I say I had a lot of respect for Port Adelaide, I still do. There's a lot that I like them, but I don't always like them.
Well, you like to beat them. That's what you're saying.
It's like your family. You always love them, but you don't always have to like them.
Fair shout. But the other interesting thing as well, when you go through the list for Adelaide, Rochelle, in terms of looking beyond round 3, 2023, Rochelle's going to be a star. Obviously, we've spoken about Isaac Rankin. Phil Thorpe, kick 5. He's an emerging star as well. They lose Darcy Fogarty. He steps up and kicks 5. So, I guess in terms of the future, and once again, it goes back to the fickleness of this game that we love and enjoy being part of. But last week, 2 weeks ago, we're thinking, Crows, they're no good, they're this, they're that. And all of a sudden they come out and your whole mentality flips in the space of 2 hours and you talk about the future. Those 3 players I just mentioned.
All first-round picks as well. And the one that actually surprised me that wasn't in that conversation is Luke Pedler.
Pedler, yeah.
Pick 11, and he really took a step tonight.
Definitely.
3 goals to his name, great tackling pressure. Feels like an all-round player in a way because he was kind of around the ground at different stages of the night.
I just like the flexibility I thought through Jordan Dawson's game in which he played, and we spoke about Rochelle going to the middle. He was up forward. Rankin plays more of a high half forward rather than probably in the midfield, but he'll get his chance in there occasionally too. 52 games is the average games for this group for Adelaide, and it's 68 for Port Adelaide. Now, it's another season, but there is greater experienced players in the Port Adelaide team. There's more of them. There's only a handful, Laird, Sloane, Walker, and probably what's increased it on last year, 47 was the average game for Adelaide. Jordan Dawson gets thrown in there too, Isaac Rankin. So there's reasons why, but they're still youthful in terms of the experience. So, the more play they get together, the greater cohesion.
Josh, just you had the votes for the medal. So you've said Dawson, Rochelle, Thilthorpe, all Adelaide players. Port Adelaide, not in the race. Or was it just the way that they finished? I'm not saying the votes are wrong. I'm just asking about what you thought of Port Adelaide's performance, because it seemed a lot more even, if you like, than any standouts as such.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought Pal Pepper was outstanding. And at about the 20-minute mark, he was, in my mind, was going to get one vote. But then you could just sense that the game had swung in favour of Adelaide. They were playing too well, and obviously Thilthorpe bobs up and kicks his fifth goal. But look, I thought Rosie did a good job. We mentioned him throughout the course of the call. Power Pepper, I thought, early kept Port Adelaide actually in the contest when momentum was heavily against them in probably about the 20-minute mark of that first quarter. And they had other contributors, but overall, just not enough performing to the level they needed to for the course of the game. And I did mention it as soon as the siren went, but... and I don't want to sound like I'm banging on about it, and I guess I am, but the contested possession is such a critical part of this game because it's a combative game, it's a physical game. And contested possession does give a good indication of work rate, and they have been absolutely mauled in that space in the last 2 weeks, and that would be a concern.
I thought Jason Horne-Francis' game was good. First half more so than the second half. He only had a couple, maybe 3 or 4 touches in the third. Ended up with 16, but again, just more of a grunt game. Like he gets 10 contested. The ground ball 7, the clearance is 6, the inside 50 is 4. He's somehow got to break away to be able to get some easy ball as well, not just the hard ball all the time. And his disposal's getting better. So and particularly when there are a lot of players that were, pretty even with their contribution tonight. It's a tough gig trying to give out the votes, and then when they want them halfway through the last quarter, you go, "Are you serious, you blokes?"
Yeah. And again, I wasn't being critical. I was just asking about the opposite side of the ledger. And last season, what we got from Scott Camporelli all the time was best midfield wins. So your indicator is just the clearance factor and how you get that ball. But clearly, Adelaide's performance through the midfield generated that enough ball to win the game.
And I must admit, from an Adelaide's perspective, I was concerned for Adelaide coming to the game, because if you looked at pure talent v talent, midfield Port Adelaide, midfield Adelaide, would it be fair to say Port Adelaide come out on top?
Rosie, Wines, Butters, Horne-Francis,
Spoke, the list goes through. The list goes on and on. And if you looked at Adelaide's midfield, they're not the superstar names that Port Adelaide have.
Not proven yet.
Not proven yet. No, absolutely.
And it wasn't until late, actually, that they actually went full on with, they went Sloane in the middle, Laird in the middle, Dawson in the middle, O'Brien. That was probably their heaviest, most experienced about partway through that last quarter. Outside of that, Sloane was on a wing, Dawson was on a wing. They did sort of throw it around, but they were throwing Rochelle and the young blokes in the middle all the time too. So.
Which is important for their development, as you said.
Tackles inside 50, 17-10 in favour of Adelaide. So again, the pressure, possession, time in forward half, just critical to be able to maintain, keep it in, keep the defence under pressure all the time. And probably Adelaide's inside, or their forward half got better as the game went on, and probably enhanced in that last quarter.
And I think when you talk about an Isaac Rankin, obviously he kicks the flashy goals and he finishes and he's the bit of the icing on the cake, but his pressure and his speed to close opposition is something that will be no doubt critical for Adelaide moving forward, because his forward pressure is outstanding when he's on.
Well, he had 5 tackles tonight.
Oh, there you go.
Just as a sidelight to all this, though, how good was it to have 48,962 fans in the ground? I'm assuming, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that's the biggest crowd we've seen since 2019.
Well, there was the Jordan Dawson goal as well after the siren was a pretty big crowd. I'll have a look for you now, Crossy. But yeah, traditionally over the last couple of years since COVID, we've been stuck around high 30s at most. So it will be up there.
When I was having a look at the showdown stats, sort of throughout the week it went down, and it's sort of like it's 45,000, 48, 52, all that sort of stuff. Then you get to 2021, I reckon it's like 2,000 in one of the games, you know, and just to think that, you know, we were living in those times, just had little people in the stadium.
Yeah. So we had 48,000, so just going through... Oh, this isn't helpful. Anyway, I was like, this isn't great.
Hang on, I got my book from last year.
So last year's showdown, around 23, had 50,000. So, but again, predominantly we've had 28 to 35 over the last few years. So it's looking better. And with a win like that, it'll do wonders. Because, I mean, you think about the Adelaide-Richmond game, that only pulled 35. So I think if Adelaide start to continue this momentum and fans can buy in, we're going to start to see 40-plus.
Time of the game, too. Again, Saturday afternoon, always difficult, isn't it, too? Yep. Saturday night, a little bit easier.
Yep. Adelaide winners by 31 points in Showdown 53. Let's get some reaction in the rooms with Jack Paquetta.
Thanks, Aaron. We've been lucky enough to join by Mitch Hinge. Mitch, just run us through how are you feeling after that one?
No, that was unbelievable. The boys stood up, especially through the midfield. The kids are coming through strong, and it's just really nice to get on the board this season, and I mean, how good to do it in a showdown.
7 different lead changes throughout the game. It was a real seesawing kind of affair. What were the main messages from Matthew Nicks, particularly in that last quarter?
Little bit of a nail biter. Not ideal, is it? I mean, we just got to get back to our contest and back our method in. And I think we probably played 3 quarters of footy today, and we want to push for 4. But to keep the contest going, keep going forward, keep pressing up, and trust the process was probably the methods. And we obviously came out on top, so it was really nice to get that win.
And just before I throw it upstairs, what did you make of the atmosphere tonight? Almost 49,000 people there, majority Port Adelaide supporters. How did you find it?
It was incredible. I love big games like that, and I mean, there was still a few Adelaide people out there, like as in Crows fans, and geez, they were loud. So it was unbelievable to hear them, and I can't wait to get part of the army coming on, and only exciting times ahead, I think. So it's really exciting.
Let's go upstairs for some questions from our experts.
Mitch, Rod Jamieson, congratulations, great win. What I loved about tonight was when you were challenged, I think the ability of the team to be able to slow the game down, and I think that sort of enhances the growth of the leadership that you're showing when you're right in the middle of the game and you've got the ability to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they probably put it to us. The coaches put it to us, especially us in the back line. To start winning our one-on-ones, and we're probably leaking a few goals early. So, to get on top late and change the game onto our terms, it was really good, and I think it shows real growth within this emerging group.
The growth about being better, probably the clearance work first half, 2.5 quarters. Port Adelaide were clearly on top. It was hard to pull that back and get it back on level pegging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the boys, they went to work in that second half, or probably from the second quarter, and really focused on their seek and got that contested ball up. I think I think we're about plus 20 by the end of the game, and that's really impressive, and that's how you win games of footy. So it made it a little bit easier behind the ball to defend, but we still had times where we need to do better as defenders as well. So going forward, we'll have a few things to look at, but it's really nice to get the win tonight.
And Mitch, Josh Franco up here. Congratulations on the win tonight. Can you talk us through that rundown tackle? I think it was in the second.
Yes. There's not really too much to say. It's not a spot I'd love to be in too often, but you got to do what you got to do for the team, and it was nice to get that chase down. The crowd obviously erupts, and it's good. It's the little things that win your games of footy, and a seek and contest was really good, and it really lifted after half time. So it was really good.
Yeah, well said. And just another player, if you could just share a few comments on, obviously there's been a lot of narrative around Isaac Rankin coming to Adelaide from the Gold Coast Suns, and there's been critics, there's been fans of it. What does he bring to the group? Obviously, we've seen it over the first 3 weeks. Tonight, he was outstanding, kicked 4 goals, and he's electric in the way he plays the game. What has he brought to the group?
He's obviously really electric, isn't he? He's good to watch. You can put it anywhere near him, and you can almost back him into at least half it, but get the job done most of the time. So, there's that on game day, but then the way he trains and the way he conducts himself around the club is super impressive, and I can't be prouder of him as a teammate, and I think he's only got better things coming as well. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, well done.
Mitch Hinge is with us on Grandstand AFL. 21 touches in a 31-point showdown win for the Adelaide Crows. Mitch, it's Aaron Bryans here. We were supposed to have Matthew Nix on SA Grandstand this morning, and unfortunately he pulled up a bit crook. Sore throat was what I was told. I imagine whatever he had left, he probably gave tonight. Was he able to get much out there in the middle and then in the post-game?
No, you know how he is. He's very vocal. He's very passionate, and he wants the group to go well. So, he had a few words for us, and we love him. So, it's only onwards and upwards. And I think it's a good starting point tonight, and hopefully we can go forward strong.
For you, Mitch, it's an incredible tale on the Brisbane Lions for a couple of years. You went to Adelaide in 2021, and it feels like you've just found this role. Even at stages of last year, there were obviously a couple of injury issues, but it felt like you were going to be something special, and now you've really locked away that position. And what are you feeling personally to be a part of this 22 now as a fully fledged kind of senior player that holds his spot continuously?
Obviously I want to be part of this group and part of this group going forward, winning games. So, that's been the goal. And I didn't have my luck in Brisbane, but I've really, really loved my time here in Adelaide. I've been backed in by the coaches that I really enjoy the team here. I'm really loving it being back home in Adelaide. So, put all these things together. Obviously, I've had a few more pre-seasons and got my body a bit more sound, and I'm really confident in my game and my body at the moment. So, the coaches obviously put a few things towards me to get better and get the job done, and that's what I focus on each week. And it's good to kind of play a decent game tonight and get away with the 4 points. I feel like that's a good start for our season, and we can go from here.
Well, I thought it was your best game, Mitch, too. 90% disposal efficiency, so again, well done. But another one, Riley Thilthorpe. Everyone has their challenges mentally, physically, through injury or form, but tonight to stand up and kick 5 in the middle of the ground, but also do what he had to do going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Riley, it'd be very challenging, high pick, and he plays that role where he's playing against proper seasoned men. So for him to come in tonight and after a little bit of time in the twos and come through, it's just a testament to his character and him as an individual. So yeah, I'm super proud of Riley, and he's he's got a really strong head on his shoulders, and these little things, the games like this is where he's going to shine, and when he can start bringing that on a consistent basis, it's going to be incredible for us fans to watch. So super proud of him as a teammate, and he's a great guy as well. So it's good to see him get a good solid performance in tonight.
So Mitch, you joined the group basically a year off the wooden spoon, and you're now in your 3rd season with the Crows. So you'd know the emotion of getting to this point. What does it feel like after the last 3 years to finally feel like you're a side at your best that can compete against the best?
I think we showed glimpses of that last year, and we probably still only showed 3/4 of that tonight. But this young emerging group, we've got Pedler, Thilthorpe, Saligo, even Maxi tonight putting his body on the line. It's just so exciting to see the talent and the individuals coming through, and I just can't be prouder as a teammate and as a mate of these boys that I'm going to hopefully be on the journey with them, and it's just super exciting. But we've definitely got a long way to go. So these little wins we'll take them and we'll enjoy them as a group. But come Monday we'll get back to work, and hopefully next week we'll do it again.
Really well spoken, Mitch. Thank you for your time. Go enjoy the win.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Mitch Hinge in the Adelaide Crows camp. 31-point winners in Showdown 53. He has really come along as a player. For someone who was on the rookie draft, he listed from Brisbane. He's best 22 now.
I think when you get a player like that, when he first came, you watch him from a distance, you don't know enough about him, but when you actually train with him or see him train too, I just like his silky, I like Kane Farrell, the way that he moves across the ground. He's just smooth, and it's left foot, and he reads low centre of gravity, reads it really well. And I think Mitch is like that, but he's got a real spring in his step. He can play tall, he can play small. You've seen his ability to turn on a dime, but also chase down with his speed. And he came, and his first game, I think last year, he might have dislocated his shoulder. And then he came off it was against Geelong, I think, was it? Am I right in saying that? And then he came back on the ground, and then he did it again. And they strapped him up, and he was able to play there, and then he missed a lot of, and then, so he's had to get it repaired over the end of the season, and it hasn't always gone, but, as you know, Josh, too, you just need a big, healthy pre-season, keep your body sound, and once you've played, most people would say 2, 3, 4 seasons. You acclimatise, your body hardens, you get mature physically, mentally, so you know what you can and can't do. But if anything, I think he's going to damage his own self sometimes, the way he attacks the football and the way he plays. So he's been a great attribution to the halfback.
Another one that was a bit of a shock. I was a little concerned when I saw Chase Jones named as the sub tonight. I haven't really been impressed with his footy over the years that he's played at the club, but maybe this is the role for him, because he was a spark. As soon as he came out, he threw his body on the line. He set up a ton of plays in the back half, and then also found his way on the scoreboard as well as a dangerous small forward. Maybe this is the key to finding him a role.
Well, I think, again, it's just the maturity. He's only a small player, but the maturity in his body just growing out. And, again, you become smarter in how to play and what to do. And, like, I think when he was injected in, I thought he did really well. And what about, I think it was Riley Bonner that he actually almost cleaned up down here.
Charged through
first, you know, like, so he's getting comfortable with his body. But, I thought his impact on the game was good.
Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Josh Franco with you, wrapping up Showdown 53. Adelaide winners by 31 points. Very thankful to hear from Mitch Hinge in the Crows camp. Jack's made his way over to the power rooms to see how they're feeling. Down to you, Jack.
Thank you, Aaron. Connor Rosie's been good enough to join us. Connor, a tight game, 7 different lead changes throughout it. How do you assess that one?
Yeah, it's a tough loss. Feel like we were playing pretty well. They're a hard contested, hard-working team, and we knew they were going to be up for the fight. And three-quarter time, I guess we felt in a really good position, but they ran over the top of us, and we weren't able to stop the momentum at the end. So, fair bit to review again.
What was Ken's main message to the team after the game?
We just got to find a way to stem the flow, I guess. We've struggled to stop opposition once they've got a run on, and when we play our footy, we're hard to beat, but it's been inconsistent so far. We've got to get back to being a contested, hard-working side, which starts in the middle with our midfielders. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of things to take from this game.
You're sporting a nice shiner on your cheek there. It's been opened up. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. I think it was a little head-on-head, so no concussion or anything, so I think I should be fine. Good to go.
What did you make of the heat and the atmosphere tonight? It was a contested and willing showdown.
Yeah, we love playing in these games, especially in front of our home fans. It's disappointing not to come away with the result, but it's 50,000 roaring fans. It's an amazing atmosphere to play in front of, and the Port Adelaide faithful will always come out to support us, and we thank them a lot for that.
We'll now head upstairs to some questions from our experts.
And Connor, Josh Franco up here in the box. And I understand the emotions are running pretty high at the moment. We can sense the disappointment in the loss. In terms of Ken Hinkley's post-match address, and I guess a trend that we've seen last week against Collingwood, and looking at the pure raw numbers today in terms of contested possessions, you're minus 22 again. I dare say that will possibly be spoken about during the week, but is that an area where Port Adelaide need to be better?
100%. We talked about that a fair bit during the week. It obviously starts on our midfield, but it's not only around stoppage, it's all over the ground. We seem to be second to the ball, I guess, and I feel like when we get first to the ball, we're a pretty good side, and we use the ball well, but we're not getting enough first hands on it, and that showed again this week. They were tougher for longer, and that's why they came away with the result.
Kind of Rod Jamieson, I think the clearance work, particularly the first half, you were on top.
Yeah, we felt like that. We felt like things were flying pretty well. Riley O'Brien, he's a really good ruckman, so he was always going to be hard to combat, but there's a lot of belief in our midfield. Like I said, those contested ball numbers, though, we've really got to harness that and do something to fix it, to be honest, because we can't keep going this way.
Sam Pepper, his game tonight, really impactful too, and the return of 3 goals.
Yeah, he's been awesome over the first 3 weeks, but also the last couple of years he's really grown into that half-forward role. It's a really tough position to play, but he plays it as good as really anyone in the comp, and he's a great teammate. He works really hard and cracks in as well, so we're really grateful to have him.
Connor, Aaron Bryans here. It's a parochial two-team town, and all the story will be about Adelaide getting over the line. But there's going to be some scrutiny that comes the way of the Port Adelaide Football Club at 1 and 2, and largely that's, I guess, because the list is really stacked. It's a team that many feel can contend, and Ken Hinkley said it's the best group he's ever put together. Are you feeling internally the pressure that you're underperforming?
Oh, we know we're not playing to what we can, and that showed in round one. When we're playing our style of footy, we can match it with the best teams in the comp, but we've been way too inconsistent so far. There's been a few position changes over the off season, but largely our group's pretty similar to last year. So we've got to just review this game really hard and get back to playing consistent football, because I feel like once we get back to doing that, we can match it with anyone, really.
You had a great game, 28 touches, 7 inside 50s, 10 contested possessions, a goal. It felt like you were leading the charge in the midfield. What's the Beck's mix at the moment? Because we mentioned at times through the call that we hadn't seen a lot of Travis Boak, and we'd love to see him in there, but there's just so many names in this lineup. I mean, Horde Francis, Butters, Wines alongside you. It's tough to get everyone a chance to have a crack at it.
Yeah, it has been a little bit of a challenge to try and fit everyone in. It's probably a good thing to have more people that can go in there than not, but we haven't found the right mix yet. We'll probably review this game, and Boki might spend a little bit more midfield time in the future, but I don't think I don't think that's the issue, having too many people that can play midfield. Like I said before, it's just they were harder for longer.
Connor, thank you for taking the time to chat to us tonight, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys bounce back next weekend against Sydney.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Connor Rosie from the Port Adelaide Football Club, easily their best on ground, 28 touches, a goal, as I mentioned, 10 contested possessions, and clearly deflated by the result that leaves their season in a precarious position. I know it's only 1 and 2 and there's 23 rounds, but Sydney next, Western Bulldogs after that, West Coast a winnable game, and then St Kilda. But there's going to be concerns. As I mentioned, it's a high-pressure town, and Port fans are going to be disgruntled that they haven't lived up to the hype so far.
Oh, you can sense his frustration, clearly. All clubs, Adelaide, Port Adelaide particularly, have spoken about it's more than just a home and away game. It's got the feel of a finals. You're in front of your home crowd, all of that. You've got Ken Hinkley at the end of the year. You're trying to rotate players and give them the experience. Maybe Travis Boak, he's an outside runner. He's an older body now. You just got to try and get him through. He might not play every game, but he prepares well. So, look, it's going to be a tough year, and the next 4 weeks are going to be tough. Like we've seen the Saints who've come on a little bit this year. West Coast, probably not so. They're going to play here. Western Bulldogs are up and about, and Sydney away. The next 4 weeks are going to be really tough again.
Well, I think the other thing as well, and even listening to Connor's response around the contested ball, and this isn't a knock on Connor at all, but interesting when he said we got to fix it, and I reckon that's, again, I know I go on and on about the contested ball because it's so important, but we got to fix it. The silver bullet is how you fix it, and it's interesting, looking at Collingwood play, and I know they're flying at the moment, but they're 22 that run onto the field. There's obviously an expectation that they perform to the level they perform at to get the result that they've been getting over the last year and obviously the first 3 rounds. They are fanatical. And that goes for the entire game. At times in games, you're always going to get momentum swings. And we've seen it against Collingwood. But then they have the ability to almost sort of say, enough's enough, let's get going. And they lift their work rate, they lift their intent, their contested ball numbers go through the roof, and then they get the game on their terms. And I guess the worrying thing, and Connor said it, the worrying thing is for Port Adelaide, those numbers and those differential numbers, they're not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. They're 22 and 57 in the last 2 weeks. So that's a big concern.
But are you saying it's not personnel, it's not structure, it's just totally intent?
I think a lot of that is mentality in terms of contested ball and the want and the willingness to do it. Now, again, I don't say that with any sort of ulterior motive to what's going on at Port Adelaide, but just in my experience and my time in the AFL industry, that is a lot of intent. And as we said, we've got to fix it. How do you fix it? That's the $1 million question.
I think the best ones at it, Collingwood you've touched on, I think Melbourne too. Yep. Like when you just look at Oliver, Petrarca, Viney, these guys, they're relentless, aren't they? They just get at you. And not only defensively, but when it's time to go, they are well and truly on their bike.
Yeah.
I think the only time in 2017, if I haven't brought this up before, I thought it's the first time in all of my time, either playing or commenting on the game, that I felt Adelaide, we'd go to every game and we would smash every team. It was just one where the experience, the leadership and the quality in which we played at that time, if you were behind in a game where you had to hold it up or you had to change the way and you manoeuvre your way through the game, that year, when I reflect on it, I just go, wow, I can't believe how good we were. We just had our worst game in 2 years on the biggest day. So it does happen from time to time, but I've never felt like that previously, and I've never, either being involved or playing in a club, but just that year, I don't know. Again, you're at a distance from other clubs, so it's hard to get a sense and a feel that way. Maybe through my connection with the club at that time, I was obviously really engrossed and focused, but I just couldn't. I just came to a game every week and just went, we'll win this. Now, we didn't win them all, but I knew when we were up against it, we could just find a way to get our way through it. And I think that's where Port Adelaide are at right at the moment, with the quality too and the intent and just getting fanatical. Fanatical, not like the last 2 weeks where you just get at it. You've got to be methodically fanatical, that you don't overindulge and give away all your frees, which then makes it then really hard. So it's not just one thing, but it's clearly there's a starting point.
Yeah, and I think Connor, he also touched on it. It's not just putting the microscope on the mids. That's across the 22 that are playing.
What was the key ingredient for you, Jamo, when you say every week you turned up and you wanted to give everything to the club? Was there something in the pre-season? What actually built that belief? Chemistry?
Yeah, again, it's experience, it's cohesion. It's spending time together. And that's why all clubs either do some sort of getaway or, they do things as a group. And you hear we're connected, we're together, we're tighter than we've ever been before. So you're trying to manufacture, you're trying to get that type of experience into a group that hasn't experienced a lot of time together. And you expose yourself, or you become vulnerable, that you have to expose yourself and you get uncomfortable, but you've got to be really in the environment where you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, but there is that terminology. But you've got to get yourself uncomfortable. And it's like the 4-minute mile, isn't it? No one will ever break it. Someone does, then 20 people go ahead and break it. So there's this barrier that you've got to get through. And talk about Isaac Rankin coming to Adelaide. This is the people that spend their entire working life, the detail, understanding, knowing what they need, and we as people on the outside go, oh, we know better. We don't think you can fit in there. You're paying him too much. But these guys have been looking at this for 2 and 3 years and working to get to that point, so he actually comes back.
Just on that connectivity really quickly, there was a ex-Wallaby by the name of Ben Darwin, I think, who had done a study on connectivity and winners, and I think he rated the 2017 Adelaide side as one of the highest ever. And, of course, it just fell apart on the wrong day.
No, the irony of that, Crossy, I've met with him several times.
Yeah.
And he goes back to, the English Premier League, David Beckham. There was 5 or 6 of them that came through from the age of 15 to go on and play and perform for England. And, so he's got so much data on all this information, and whatever it does, you don't need the grandest, glossiest facility. It's other teams that have been and experienced and all of this. So this is what everyone's trying to emulate and do and get as much into, but everything's at different levels, isn't it?
Jamo, great job as always. What a game. It was really enthralling. Josh, great to have you as part of the team. Crossy, good calling. Thanks to Paul Brokenshire, our tech, Jack Paquetta downstairs, who got into both rooms, and the cult figure Adam Jones back in the studio. A really enjoyable night. The Showdown 53 won by the Adelaide Crows. 31-point victors in the end. 18-9, 117 to 13-8, 86. Still to come tomorrow. Triple header of footy. The Suns and the Cats, the D's and the Swans, and the Western Derby to finish things off in round 3. It all starts at 12 Eastern with Sunday AFL with Corbin Middlemass. He'll have Chad Wingard and Mitch Cleary on the panel. He'll wrap up the showdown, and also the Saints win over the Bombers by 18 points. But here at the Adelaide Oval, Showdown 53 goes the way of the Crows by 31 points. Enjoy your night.